Hello everyone, and welcome. It is finally time, of course, for the Endurance Series. It is time for Bahrain, and today, well, it's a very special occasion. Joining me is not only one, but two the other MRL fantastic commentators. We have both Unicorn and Mikal on comms this evening. How are you, gentlemen?
Hey, good, thank you, Striff. It's an interesting one with all three of us here, 100% race. I think our voice boxes are gonna thank us for us all being here, especially after a very hectic week at France. But Bahrain, what a track to kick off endurance with.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really
it's
excited.
going to definitely be one. Definitely going to be a very exciting one. 57 laps around the Bahrain International Circuit, 15 turns, 20 drivers, all of them very well familiar to those regular viewers of the Misfits Racing League. And looking at this grid, it's going to be a real thriller. So I can't wait, Striffium. Unicorn, can't wait.
15 turns around Bahrain Secure. Of course, we had the qualifying, well, in real Formula One today, and it's really now starting to come together. It's starting to set in that we are here. F1 is here, and it is the start of the 2021 season. Max Verstappen taking pole position in qualifying today ahead of tomorrow's round one racing action. But we are now here and just about ready to go racing for our own campaign of laps around, well, the Secure, well, Bahrain International Circuit, and it's a really high power circuit, a ton of DRS straights here. We have the, well, it's just a ton of power here, isn't it, Mikal?
Yes, it most certainly is, and it's a track that really lends itself to some really great races. Just thinking back about a month or so ago, back to when the MRL visited the wonderful Bahrain International Circuit for the second round of the season, and we had some of the best racing we've seen to date, and going back to last season as well, and even the last year's endurance race. No, it was a great race all around. But the thing that these drivers are going to need to remember, Shrifium, is it is a long race. It's very long. So they will need to definitely have trained at least a little bit for this one in the stamina, because this year with strict corner cutting and full damage of regular MRL rule set, there isn't as much room for error as there has been in, well, last year's series.
That's right. I was gonna acknowledge that this is different this season. The Endurance Series now coming in with the full MRL rule set, and that's gonna pose a different struggle or strategy equation for some of these drivers, because last season for the majority of those races we did run regular, something new that we were trying. Now we're coming in, it is the first full official, we've planned it now, Endurance Series season, and it is of course free for pretty well everybody to kind of try and get in and participate. Week to week we'll post the check-ins, and they happen for each weekend where we have a real Formula One Grand Prix. But we do have all 20 drivers now in here, and I have to say it is going to be a very intense race. I think there's a lot of very fast drivers on this grid today. We have a mixture of drivers from tier 3, tier 2, tier 1, APAC, Americas, all 5 of the grids. I'm not sure if we have any tier 3 drivers. Not really sure, just jump in.
I don't believe so. But we definitely have all of the continents represented. Have few guys racing in the APAC, from the APAC split as well as the Americas split. And as the countdown is just about to start, Strophium, there are some very big questions that I think are going to be answered in a couple hours' time.
Definitely. Who's well, we have quite a few little rivalries that are about to go down here on this grid, and one driver that I think everyone's looking to see on this grid is Ben the Bear, who is well, a very fast driver. And I think back to when he made his endurance racing debut versus, well, at that time I think it was Mayo. Very intense race, and this is going to be a serious showdown. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this qualifying gets underway. I wanted to talk Unicorn. You've driven here through Bahrain, and if my memory serves, you didn't do half bad here.
I I didn't do terribly. I came back from a pretty terrible qualifying, picked up P8. It's I think that the interesting one here is the penalties with the strict corner cutting. 100% races, a lot of corners. You could just sort of run a little wide on, and you pick up that penalty that you just don't want. So I wonder whether we'll see that tonight with the strict corner cutting. 100% races. You just see a few people drift wide when they start to get tired. Everyone's used to 50% use. Strap double the distance on, and how many more people make those silly mistakes, and it all adds up at the end of things. And you just mentioned Ben the Bear there. I get to watch him week in, week out battle with none other than Mick out here with us. But against the tier 1 drivers this season, I think that's going to be one to watch, and we'll have to see how the rest of this race shakes out. But qualifying's underway. Everyone in the garage at the moment getting those setups dialed in, and we'll see what sort of tires everyone opts for here.
18 minutes is the duration of qualifying ahead of these endurance series races, and well, it's always a big question to see who the first driver is going to be out on circuit. I do believe we're not going to be getting any kind of weather differential. I do believe this session had been set to clear. One of the first drivers out on track is going to be the Williams. I think it is going to be Yama, and who better than to talk about Yama? Well, Mick, you've been watching him all season.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yama has, at least as of late, been showing some great pace. Both those Williams cars in the Americas division. Unfortunately, his teammate Becky B not here in this race, but certainly Yama has really impressed. A couple of race wins under his belt, second in the championship, only to his Williams teammate. So definitely looking to see him score some decent points today. But I think while these drivers are making their way around the outlaps, why don't we actually run through Stryfium, who will be taking part in the first endurance race of 2021.
Well, I'd love to, Mick, and if I'm not mistaken, in the Mercedes at the top of the timing tower right now, that is Milan. We also have Jeffrey Ritchie, aka Ace, over in the Red Bull. We have Angel on the grid today as well in the McLaren. Remco Van Putten from the APAC division is making his appearance here in Bahrain. He will be fourth on the timing tower for the moment in the Renault. We have Sindako in fifth position, the Racing Point. BTFU, a very regular customer here of the Misfits Racing League, in sixth position for AlphaTauri. And then seventh, we have Neon, who is, well, a very feisty Tier 2 driver who's making his appearance on the first round of the Endurance Series. Zamis, the founder of the MRL, in the Ferrari, as he normally drives in the Americas division. Eighth on this timing tower. Ben the Bear, as previously mentioned, in the Red Bull today. He is, of course, in APAC. We have Jones in the Racing Point, running out the top 10 names on this grid. As we're looking at the names, we'll take you for the lap with Yama into turn 4. Domi in the Ferrari, currently 12th on the timing tower. We have Microlander, 13th position in the Alfa Romeo, with Freeware 14th for AlphaTauri. Yoda is here in the Williams as well. We have Shenjay, 16th position. He is in the Renault. We have Trin on the grid today as well in the Haas. Low Blotel taking up his usual seat over at Mercedes. Brainstew in 19th, and it's T-Mac rounding out the grid for this one, Mikau.
Yeah, I'm just having a little bit of a look at Ben the Bear as he's starting his first flying lap. So I think it's a good idea we go on board with what I do believe is the world record holder around at the Bahrain International Circuit, making his way through turn 1 and 2 right now, using all of the curb at the exit of, the apex of turn 2, I should be saying, up to 8th gear, 100 meters for turn number 4, third gear, trying to get as much rotation as you can in the car, short shifting up to 4th, using all the track that you can on that left-hand side. Turn 5, turn 6, as we make our way through the S section in sector 2, turn 7, careful not to use too much of that curb. Turn 8, third gear, getting on the power as early as you can, short shifting up into 4th gear to prevent that wheel spin as Yama's set the first lap of the session. Now the hard braking zone for turns 9 and 10, very easy to lock up the front left, and we saw that a little bit throughout practice and qualifying for the real-life Formula 1 drivers. Now through the last DRS zone of the lap, looking for the 50-meter board around there, a little bit later on the brakes than me personally there for turn number 11, and through the uphill sweep of turn number 12. Careful to avoid that inside curbing. Now turn 13 now. For fourth gear, short shifting up into fifth gear. And then you're right on the power once again. And you have just one more thing to think about, Striffium. The final braking zone of the lap, just after the 100-meter board, down into third gear. Short shifting up into fourth, getting on the power very, very early. It looks like a very good lap for the Red Bull, and he actually backs out of it, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's still good enough for provisional pole with a 1 minute 25.032.
I'm laughing at that unicorn. Less than 4/10 now, the gap between him and Yema, and he slowed down. I don't know, it must have been at least 2 seconds he was slowing down there.
Well, you see him week in, week out. Sometimes he plays with a different set of tires at the start, maybe. So unorthodox here, we've seen him come out, actually do a run, and then drop it at the end. And I think that just goes to show he is trying tonight. He realizes just how tight this grid is, how impressive a lot of drivers are here for this evening. And I don't think he's going to be backing out anytime soon. He is really going to put his best foot forward. And like Nick said, world record holder around this track. He's one to watch, but I think he's got both eyes open looking at all the other drivers.
Jumping on with Sindako. Looks to be on a flyer. Went through 14-15, lock up on the front right.
Yeah, DRS wide open now for the Racing Point driver. It will be 7th place for the Italian, just behind his teammate, a 1 minute 25.756. A little bit of a slow start, if I'm not being honest, for this qualifying session. There is quite a large desync in the times. There isn't just 11 minutes remaining. I do believe it's something close to about 13. But we'll press on with that. Yeah, some very strong times. So we have Milan currently sitting on that provisional pole spot with 1 minute 24.8, as I believe that was Zamis coming across the line on his second attempt, slingshotting himself, Striff, all the way up into 4th place.
Yeah, good run from him. Richie behind him in the Red Bull was on a run. He invalidated through 13. It was a 25 flat, but he did unfortunately invalidate that lap, whether it was intentional or not. I mean, we've seen it with Ben. We'll have to see what these drivers opt to do through the session, as Shenjay now, he's flying out of turn 10 into 11 here in the Renault.
Yeah, into turn 11 now, up to 5th gear. Looks like that car looks pretty stable to me. Striffium make his way through turn 11. Looks like a pretty decent lap so far. Gets a lot of rotation, actually loses the rear slightly out of turn 13. That's definitely going to cost him a little bit of time coming down one of these long straights. Now in the last braking zone for turns 14 and the non-existent apex of 15. Really accelerating on that curbing, Striffium. I don't know how that's going to affect his lap time, but it is going to be provisional pole. And that's the kind of time that I'm looking to see in this early part of the session. A 1 minute 24.555 for the Tier 1 driver. And I do believe he actually won this race. Not this season, but last season. So definitely one to watch for. But I think in a grid as competitive as this one, it's anyone's game, especially for such a long race, Striffium.
That's right. I don't think I have had the opportunity to see an endurance race with a grid of this caliber yet, and well, we'll have to see how things play through. As we mentioned earlier in that small pre-show ahead of the qualifying, that we are running full damage and strict corners, whereas last endurance racing season we had reduced, just to give these drivers a little bit of comfort, for the long haul. They were getting used to things, but now they're really getting thrown into things. You were talking about Neon. Normally drives that McLaren. Well, Angel in the McLaren today. He's coming through turn 11. He's yet to set a lap. See what he's able to do.
He's got the Red Bull in front of him. I do believe that is Ben the Bear, actually, on an out lap. Moves over to the right-hand side, nice and tight. Ben's actually on the medium tires, so Unicorn, he's up to his usual tricks once again. But Angel making his way through the final couple of corners now, up on the gears. Nice and smooth on the power. He runs out of the point. What's the time going to be? It's going to be P7 for the Mexican. 1 minute 25.465. And I do believe that was Blotel coming across to set his first time in the session, 1 minute 25.045. So some very solid times out there on the track. But I think everyone wants to see what Ben the Bear can do on these medium compound tires because he is fast around here.
Well, the king of Bahrain, he's looking for redemption though after the APAC race he had around here where some unfortunate issues cost him a very unfortunate retirement. This time he's got to make it a little bit further than he did in that race, even if it's a 50% race. Now it's a 100% race. He has got to try and take that car from start to finish over the course of a 100% race, and well, he didn't succeed last time, but that time trial time, it's going to put a shiver up a lot of these other drivers. Spike, but he's had an issue.
Ooh. Well, that wasn't very good.
I think that's probably the understatement of the year, Striffium. Unfortunately, though, for both of them, no grid place penalties, at least from what I can see. But that certainly is going to put a dent in both of their confidence, really, to really just be involved in an incident this early on in the season and in the event. It certainly does play with your mentality, and you do need that mental strength for such a long race. I speak from experience on that one.
Well, we've run quite a few of these through the last season, and between the three of us, not only have we commentated a fair few of them, but we've seen a lot of drama through some of these races, especially when the grids do get tight. Now we're here with what could be the tightest grid we've had to date in a circuit where the DRS is going to play a role here. On board with Microlander, he just runs out wide on the exit out of 13. He comes into the two final turns here in this Alfa Romeo, and all of these drivers are extraordinarily quick. I mean, they're coming from various divisions of, among, around the MRL, but I have to say, each one of these guys, well, you got a very, very good chunk of Tier 1 drivers in here mixed with the sharp end of the grids of Americas and APAC and Tier 2, and I think that this race is really going to present us with some fun wheel-to-wheel action today based on what we've seen, Unicorn and Mick.
Yeah, well, fun wheel-to-wheel action is what we all come for, and well, Richie on a lap right now. He's just come out of turn 13. He's flying down in the Red Bull. His teammate, we just saw him have an issue. Richie a little bit more successful coming down into the final two corners, and we'll see whether he's going to complete this lap on the softs. It's still valid, and it doesn't look like he's going to drop it. It's P4 for him, a 124.8, so not a bad starting position if he was to finish in fourth for the Tier 1 race winner of this season. His only win so far in Tier 1 here around Bahrain. So another one that I'll be keeping my eye on through the rest of this session, because he is obviously strong around here to win that Tier 1 race. And like you said, a lot of his fellow Tier 1 drivers here today as well. Microlander right now, he's yet to set a time. He's coming down. His teammate not too far ahead of him. A little bit too far away to give a slipstream though. As he comes out of 14 through 15. See what he can do. It looks like he's dropped it. He's 0 EOS. He is coming straight back into the pits, and with what will be about 6 minutes remaining, yet to set a time for that Alfa Romeo.
NJ. He improves by 0.2 of a second. It's a 24.350 pole position.
That is a very fast time. That is a very, very fast time. The Renault driver, normally see him in an Alpha Tauri. I do believe he is third at the moment, and France's race winner from the week just gone by. Definitely with a point to prove in this one. He's had a bit of a struggle in the Tier 1 season so far, coming in as the reigning champion of that division. Has definitely had his work cut out from him, especially from the likes of Paris and Valo, but I think maybe fortunately for his sake, they aren't on the grid this evening, but he does still have some very, very strong competition, not just from his other fellow Tier 1 drivers, but also from drivers across the MRL. Particularly ones that stand out to me are both Ben the Bear and Remco van Kooten. Yeah, his teammate for this event, who actually Striffium, is currently on his next flying lap.
Oh, we have Ben on a flyer as well. Remco Van Booten. He's coming into turn 8.
And Remco had a pretty dramatic race here in the APAC division this season in Bahrain. He managed to pick up P3, but it wasn't without issue. There's a little bit of controversy between him and his Red Bull teammate. They were on for almost a double podium finish, at least a third and fourth, but their strategy just put them together and they started attacking each other, and it just cost them more points than they could have done coming into the second race of the season.
Well, Ben the
Oh, there you
Bear
go.
has, I think he has met expectations, if not exceeded them here, Mikau. It's a 24.038. He has run that on the soft compound tires, and that is now provisional pole position. Well, 3/10 ahead of his front row companion Shenjie.
I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, Strifia, that time would put him in like the top 6, at least, for the esports event that was held earlier. Well, I shouldn't say earlier this year, like last year, for the F1 esports event. Yeah, that's quite the time. That's quite the time to beat, and if anyone can get close to that, I'll be thoroughly impressed. But I don't know if they still have enough time to maybe do another run. Our clock's saying a minute left. There's about 2 minutes of desync between us, so maybe we might be able to see a final run. But I'm a little bit worried about these two at the bottom strip here. But Microlander and Trin, both yet to set lap times.
Trin, he was coming through turn 8. Ben the Bear was on his cooldown. Ben very quick to get out of the way once he had realized the Haas was storming through the sector. And now Trin will be crossing out of turn 15 to the line, the rear wing wide open. What's it going to be for him? 16th position here. It's 25.740. Microlander on the medium compound tires. No time set from him just yet, but he will be trying to get to that line. I don't know if he's going to make it, but of course we aren't really seeing the appropriate clock right now. There's a little bit more time in the bank here.
Medium tires are a very interesting choice, especially in a grid as competitive as this one, given that I do believe the tire delta is something like 6-7 tenths. So he must be very confident in the pace that he has in that car. Looks like Angel has called it there. There's a Haas off at turn 8. I do believe that is Trin. Just trying to get out of the way of some of the drivers here. But our clock has now hit 0, and there are quite a few drivers still out there on flying laps. I'm currently looking at the 5th place man, and no stranger to that AlphaTauri car. It is, of course, Freeware, as Neon retires from the session in the pit lane.
What are we thinking about the gap right now from leader down through to Yoda? I mean, it's 4.9. You look from first down to 10th, it's less than a second. A lot of these drivers potentially on their final runs now. We're looking at Freeware.
Yeah, his current lap only 1 millisecond behind Neon, so definitely with the point to prove. But he's 300ths down on his time through the second sector, so he needs a pretty good couple of final corners, Unicorn, as the checkered flag has now dropped.
Yeah, you need to just... I think the qualifying here is so important, just based upon us. Freeware is not happy with it. He's coming straight back into the pit lane. Like you said, he was a few hundredths down coming out of sector 2. There's still a few people left out on the track to set times, but qualifying here, not so much for the champ position, but just the confidence. Coming into 100% race, you go into that thinking, oh, I'm 4 seconds off the pace. That's going to hinder you. Here goes Yoda, though, to the line. It's 10th place. He closes that gap quite significantly. A 124.9, putting him within that 1 second to Ben the Bear's time. T-Mac, he's up pretty significantly as well. Not quite the same improvement. 8 tenths, a 126.7 from him. Microlander on the mediums. Where can he put himself? It's 19th. He does beat T-Mac, a 126 flat for him. And, well, the mediums aren't exactly going to do too much. At least he saved a set of softs. Shenjie, an invalidated run back to the pit lane. As we got the Mercedes driver.
Milan, I believe, now to the line. Yeah. Improvement. 3/10 for him. Not good enough to jump Shenjie, however. 4 milliseconds separating the two.
I do believe that's our grid.
No improvement coming out of Blottel, Yama, or the AlphaTauri of BTFU. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our Round 1 Endurance Series grid here for the Bahrain Grand Prix.
And there's some close gaps. You've got Shenjie and Milan separated by 4,000. You've got Neon and Freeware separated by 1,000. So this is shaping up to be very, very close. You've got Jones, Yoda, Brains, you there, all very close. You can include BTFU in that as well. But my goodness,
Yep.
what a grid and what a qualifying.
1st to 13th, ladies and gentlemen. 1st to 13th within the second. And this entire grid, except for, unfortunately, T-Mac, separated by 2 seconds. But Stryfium, do us the honors of running through this first grid for Endurance 2021.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is Ben the Bear, the Red Bull driver, a 24.038 here for pole position for round 1. Shenjie lines up next to him in the Renault. It's a 24.350, 3/10 off the pole sitter. Milan in the Mercedes, it's a 24.354. Very tight to Shenjie, and that's your top 3. We have Neon in the McLaren 4th with Freeware, the German driver, in the AlphaTauri in 5th. And of course, we'll get on through the rest of this grid with you on the formation lap. But the separation between this grid is very, very tight, and the DRS here in Bahrain really, I think, going to play a role. A lot of intense, aggressive drivers on this grid. I think we have our work cut out for us.
Well,
Yeah.
another driver who definitely has their work cut out for them is Brainster, who actually managed to pick up a 5-place grid penalty somewhere along the way. So definitely he will have a little bit of a harder time. But yeah, gents, ladies, 57 laps plus a formation lap.
We have
This is going to be intense.
we have the channel points prediction in the chat. Will the pole sitter, I think it's, will the pole sitter win the race? And that's a big prediction in the chat, so get in there while you can. And of course, we'd like to see those predictions in the chat for who you think might wind up on the podium or even just winning this race. And of course, the safety car predictions. My name is Stryfium. Joining me is Unicorn and Mikau. Be sure to, of course, share the stream. Tell your friends it's about to go down 100% distance Bahrain ahead of tomorrow's real Formula 1 race. And before we get into this formation, guys, I would just like to take a second to shout out our fantastic partners, Next Level Racing. You can check them out on their website via the link, of course, in the chat and in the panels down below for some awesome sim racing rigs and gear. They have some really, really great stuff there for you guys to check out. But now, well, Mikau, it is time for formation.
That it certainly is Ben the Bear leading them away on this formation lap from that pole position. Shenjie in that 2nd place as well. I'm just looking at these tires in the back 10, and there's quite a difference in strategy. We have about half of them on the softs, half of them on the... Oh, sorry, goodness me. Half of them on the mediums, half of them on the hards. And then there's T-Mac in last place on those soft compound tires. But it is Ben the Bear on pole position, Shenjie lining up alongside him, Milan in 3rd, and Neon completing off the 2nd row. Freeware in 5th, Remco Van Putten in 6th for the Renault, Domi in 7th for Ferrari, Ace Ritchie in 8th, Jones in 9th, and Yoda rounding off the top 10. And in the back 10, we have BTFU in 11th, Little Blotel, the Spaniard, in 12th position, Yamamoto in 13th, Zamis in 14th, Sindaco and Brainster, the 2 Italians, line up Linestern in 15th and 16th, Arnhel in 17th, Trin, the Australian, in 18th, Microlander in 19th, and T-Mac, the other Australian, in that fast car, starting from the back of this grid. And as you can see on the left-hand side of your screens, ladies and gentlemen, 57 laps, approximately 1.5 hours. And well, from what I've heard, and especially also from what happened last year, we're going to be seeing a lot of 2-stops, I feel.
It's going to be a very intense showdown here around Sakir, that's for sure. A lot of these drivers, it's going to be a little different, I think, Mick, with that massive amount of fuel in these cars. A lot of these drivers used to the 50%, the 100%, a different animal.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In these 100% races, you really do have to manage your fuel, especially at a place like Bahrain where there's a lot of straights and you're going to be using a lot of rich mix. Utilizing that mix one, that lean mix, when you can is going to be very important. But ladies and gentlemen in the chat, Unicorn, Shrifium here in the commentary booth, get hype because these guys are forming up ahead of 57 laps. And yeah, I'm super excited for this one, as the two Haas cars plus Microlander take their spots on the grid. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here in Bahrain. I'm expecting a little bit of a desync here, but the cars are revving their engines. And it is go for Endurance Series 2021. Looks like Neon's gotten off to a pretty good start there at the back. A lot of jostling for position, but Bendaware seems to have gotten a clean start as they make their way into turn 1 for the first time. Looks like Milan and Shenjay side by side through turns 1 and 2. There's also the other Renault of Remco Putin, who's had a great start up into 4th place. There's a spin there. I think there's freeware in the wall at the exit of turn 2. So the AlphaTauri are already off to a horrible start at the beginning of this endurance campaign, but no safety cars just yet. Kind of looking a little bit further down the grid. Brainstoo's having a little bit of trouble getting those medium tires up to temperature. Easy if you're just trying to follow him through. Then the Bear still leading them away into turn number 8.
Yoda.
Issue, I think.
Yoda with an absolute lunge on Blotel. They're still wheel to wheel as we come through 9 now into 10. The Williams is on the outside. Heavy braking from both. A little bit of a squeeze there coming out of the Mercedes, but of course, Blotel on these medium compound tires right now. Yoda wants to be making sure he's in front of that car.
Ray's just getting on this action as well. Strafim, he's looking around the outside of Yoda into turn 11, but the gap just wasn't quite there for the Alfa Romeo driver. Into turn 13 now. Quite a few lockups there. We saw one from the Spaniard of Lil Blotel just ahead of them in 9th place. But crucially for these front few, they've gone away pretty clearly, although Neon has a very angry Hungarian behind him, Strifium.
Yeah, that's right. The Ferrari's charging, and this is Bahrain. Ferrari knows all about Bahrain. Neon trying to shake him. Here we go. Down the inside. He has a good run. No DRS in the equation just yet. Domi pulls off. Does he sneak up this inside? He goes for the lunge. Well, where's the move now? The camera doesn't want to show, but here it is. He gets it on the inside. Neon with a good exit holds him through the 2nd and 3rd turns as Yoda's had an issue now. He's looking the wrong way. He's in the gravel trap through turn 3. And we're going to see if we get a safety car of any capacity here, but now there's still more wheel-to-wheel exchanging. It's Yama, the other Williams versus Sindako.
Yeah, just ahead as well. Brainstew, Lil Blotel there, exchanging for 9th place. Off the track a little bit for Brainstew, up the inside, coming down into turn 8. And they're still side by side on exit, but it looks like the Alfa Romeo on these medium tires is going to be leading the charge for those yellow wall tires. Also, it's been a bit of a bad start for Shenja. He's already dropped out of that 1 second range to Milan ahead, who did start this race in 3rd. Shenja now being hunted by his teammate Remco Van Putten, and also another person with a good start. T-Mac, he started this race in dead last. He's now up into P15. Those soft tires working out quite nicely for them. And this being a 100% race, they won't die out in the first few laps like we typically see. They'll last that little bit longer. But Shenjay, he really needs to work something out, as in these opening couple of laps, he's really just been a little bit slow. Ever since those 5 red light went out, he just didn't seem to be himself, as Sindaku following Yama, who had a little bit of a lockup down through 14 and 15. Well, the Williams still in ahead at the moment. Overtake enabled on the racing point, up the inside, and as easy as you like, the mediums, I think, aiding there with a nice exit out of the final few corners.
Yama not going to be happy dropping position. He'll do what he can to keep up here. He is going to have DRS into turn 4, and there's just so much tight battling happening on track. Everybody holding well in this grid. Couple of issues. BT now on the outside of Yama. Does he have enough here? Yama holding him off. BT having to drop back to keep that car within the limits.
That's something that these drivers will need to do, because it's a long race. 57 laps. We're now on lap 3, ladies and gentlemen. If you're enjoying, please show your love in the chat. Looks like Domi 2.5 tenths behind Neon, but we see that DRS train forming, like a Unicorn was saying just a few moments ago. Shenjay At least he was out of that DRS range, but now 9.5 tenths. He's right on the cusp of that crucial 1 second. If you lose DRS at this stage of the race, you are in for a large world of hurt. It looks like Jones is starting to struggle just a little bit on the pace, falling a little bit off the back of Ace Ritchie at the moment. Unicorn.
Yeah, he's really burning that DRS, but it's worked out for him. He has created that DRS, but Neon, he's dropped it, and now he's facing a big problem in the form of the Ferrari. Domi up the inside. The Ferrari well and truly passed before turn one, but Neon's going to look for it again later on the brakes, but he hasn't found a way past Domi, the Hungarian, securing 5th place. BTFU, Yama, they've just exchanged for P12, but Domi, he's got a little bit of work cut out for him now because Neon, well, he's got DRS down into turn 4, not going to find the move back, but Domi now doesn't have DRS either because Neon dropped out of the range, so we're already going to see the front 4 start to run away a little bit, and we'll qualify a little bit deceptive. Ben doesn't have that. He hasn't got that race pace to just tear away a huge gap, but he's almost got that DRS broken to Milan behind in the Mercedes, but already a few breakages. Sindaku too. They're both racing points actually are out of DRS range of their respective cars ahead of them. Sindaku 3 seconds behind, so a bit of a break between the point scorers and those outside of the points right now, but the strategy, Striff, really has yet to take hold on this race.
Yeah, we are so early on in this race, and this grid is extremely tight still. We've had a couple of mishaps. We've had Yoda drop back. We had Freeware have his issue resulting in an early pit stop. We've had no VSC, no safety car. It's a 57-lap campaign here, and well, we've seen it through Tier 1, Tier 2, and of course the MRL season all year long so far. We've already had 10 rounds of racing, of course, APAC coming tomorrow, but it is just crazy to see what happens when those mistakes do occur. You drop through these grids like a stone, and as soon as these pit stops start coming through on a circuit like Bahrain, I think we're really going to start to see some things shuffle.
Along with that DRS, he's doing very well to stay with the back of that Red Bull as there's now an exchange between Angel and Iyama, the two Mexicans having a little bit of a duel into turn 1, and T-Mac in that Haas is going to try and look as well. Microlander getting squeezed there onto the outside as well. This is the battle for 14th at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. T-Mac sending it up the inside into turn number 4. Iyama needs to leave in the room, and Microlander is going to take both of them here out of the exit. Wow, what great racing between these three.
Very good move there from Microlander. He had that car alongside the Haas as we came out of turn 3. T-Mac with a big move up the inside of turn 4 there. He just got that car a little bit deep. Yama had to really kind of get on the brake to slow things down, and Microlander just, well, I'd say he mugged the pair of them.
Yeah, really nice, well executed, just opportunistic move, something that, well, you need to take advantage of in a race like this. You know, getting past T-Mac on those soft tires, and if he can stay in front of him, that's going to be huge for the Alfa Romeo driver on the hard compounded tire. We're more familiar seeing in a Red Bull, but now everyone, you need to get in a groove quickly in these 100% races. We've been saying how difficult it is to just sustain this pace, and well, you can already see the grid shaping up a little bit, but Brainsuit maybe having a look down the inside of turn 1. BTFU and Sindaku, they've exchanged. BTFU a huge carrier speed compared to the Racing Point down into the first corner. Microlander, Angel there, side by side through turn 1. The McLaren ahead out of turn 2, and well, he's got that move done. DRS now in the hands of the Alfa Romeo, but yeah, everyone needs to get in a groove. Just consistent lap after lap, and so far, so good in terms of penalties, but it's not going to be long until we start seeing them creep up on the timing tower, I don't think, and you need to get in a rhythm where they aren't being picked up. A big lockup from Richie as he's following Neon in the McLaren.
It's quite tight for a minute there, Richie, and I don't know if there was a bit of an issue there. He was a little bit slow going, I'd say, out of turn 8, but now he's still sticking well with the McLaren coming through turn 11, but look at the pace that these two are dropping to Domi ahead.
Absolutely staggering at the moment. This Dutch duel, as we're probably going to call it for the rest of this race. Ace Ritchie now using that overtake, trying to get as close as he can to the back of that McLaren. Into turn 14 they go. Oh, a massive lockup on the fronts there for the Red Bull driver, but it's going to be a no contest. The overtake, the DRS, easy as you like. Neon giving him a little bit of a squeeze towards the grass, but it's not going to be enough. Ace Richie now up into 6th place, and it looks like there's a lot of exchanging happening all over this grid. Brainstrew now up into 8th place as well. Right behind them has the inside line for turn number 1. Yoda going past as well. Looks like Microlander and T-Mac having a bit of a drag race now into turn number 1. T-Mac on the outside on those soft compound tires. Arnhell on the inside. Microlander's having a look at this as well. It could be 3 wide for these guys. T-Mac still trying to do all he can to stay with these 2 hard compound runners, trying to use the tire advantage as much as they can. Arnhell forcing Microlander to the outside now for turn number 4. Looks like he's got the squeeze done. T-Mac's going to try and look up the inside because of this fighting this side by side now through 5 and 6. BTFU, the first driver to pick up a penalty in this one on lap 7. Microlander seems to still really be struggling. T-Mac losing the rear on those softs, and that's invited Yama and Yoda as well to have a look at them. The 2 Williams cars looking at the stricken Haas car. Around the outside, the 2 Williams going side by side into turns 9 and 10. Massive lockups for both Yama and T-Mac. But it looks like Yama has held on to that position for the time being. The DRS is strong with this one. There's a McLaren off. I think that might be Neon at turn 13 as well, Strip.
Oh, that's not what these guys need as they come through here. That's not what these guys need, and that's a VSC, and that was a very intense battle. Neon with an issue, and I have to say, that McLaren right now, Mick, it's in a state. There's no front wing on it.
Drivers in the pits as well.
Yeah, everyone getting off of those soft tires they started on, a Neon losing that entire front wing, and we've seen him. It's been in a pretty bad run of form at the moment, having a few little mistakes here and there in tier 2, and now, well, ripping your front wing off on lap, well, it would have been 7 at the time, is a really big confidence knock, and we were speaking how important it is. There's a big side-by-side kerfuffle. Shenjie and T-Mac, I don't think either knows who was to be ahead here, but Shenjie is just ahead, and there's a bit of contact. Microlander, T-Mac is off into the runoff area as a end plate flying off what looks like Alpha Romeo. Microlander exchanging with Yoda. Richie gets past T-Mac, and Yama is in fact in front of Microlander. Now running a little bit wide though, the Ferrari of Domi. He finds Microlander up the inside. Now into 8, he's just ahead, and yeah, Microlander, he's got a very injured Alfa Romeo. Now Domi's still on a charge though, looking this time for the Williams of Yama up the inside of turn 10. It's a bit unorthodox. The medium's not quite providing the traction he needs on exit to get it past there. DRS for both drivers. ERS usage from Domi quite heavy down towards turn 11, and the Ferrari on the inside, the Williams, no response, and Domi picks up turn 10 at P10.
Very, very intense racing coming through this grid right now with that VSC really shuffling this grid, and everybody is still within very close proximity all throughout. The difference now being that some of these drivers are on fresh rubber. There's going to be some, well, earlier braking points now for the tires struggling on, well, the guys struggling on tires, I should say. And it's just going to really start to play with this race. Yoda right now, he's looking at Angel. Look at the speed on these softs still. Working out okay for Yoda. He had that issue coming through turn 3, but well, he's in 8th position right now, and it's a long, long race. So everybody just needs to keep their head down and push, I think, and, well, safety cars definitely are not off the table, as Angel now has the Ferrari of Domi looking at him with a big lunge through turn 4. Around the outside is Domi. Does he get Angel here? He's on the fresh mediums, and, well, that's an easy move for him with such traction and response right now.
One thing after those pit stops, Shenjie, I think the traffic cost him 2 seconds to Milan. He's completely lost that DRS, and it seems that it'll be... we saw him at the start trying to fight his way back with ERS, as we've got Richie around the outside of Trin. A big, big lockup for the Red Bull. One's very wide. Neon picks up a 3-second time penalty, but Richie rejoins the track well ahead of Trin, and they have exchanged for 13th place. But yeah, Shenjie, we saw him at the start, really having to burn ERS to try and stay within Milan's DRS range. And now he sits 2.2 seconds out of it. And that could cost him big time in the later stages.
Few drivers. Oh, sorry, go ahead there, Mick.
Yeah, I'm just very curious as to why these guys came in so early off the medium tires, because those softs, while they certainly weren't at their best, they do have a lot of life left in them at that point, as we've seen from Yoda's a very, very nice move on Hanhel just the lap prior. I think there actually is an exchange now as well between Zamis and Richie. Richie making his way past the Ferrari for 12th place.
Yeah,
And it
and
looks like, I think Domi got past Yoda as well, maybe?
yeah, I can confirm the Ferrari has made it ahead of the Williams here.
Yeah, but as I was saying about the tires, if anyone in the chat is unaware how it works, the tire wear is scaled for the 50% league races that we have. So these tires, in theory, should last double the laps that they normally do, as Trin battling it out with Remco. The two APAC drivers. It looks like Remco's gotten so much better, so much more grip in those medium tires out of turn 8. A little bit of a lockup, though, for the Renault driver, but he has made that move cleanly through for 14th place. And Ben the Bear, well, he has encountered his first bit of traffic in the form of this Italian in the Racing Point. That is Sindaco ahead of him, currently sitting in 4th place, Trivium.
Yeah, I'm not going to be thrilled about traffic, Ben. Not just one driver either. He has BTFU, Bloodtail, Brainstew all ahead of him on these medium compound tires. And we're on lap 11 now of this race. Here you can see the DRS and the carry of speed with the fresh rubber just really giving Ben a solid run. Sindaco not giving in easy though.
Ben's gone deep into turn 1. It looks like he's got that move done. So next up on his list will be the AlphaTauri of BTFU. A little bit further back, we see Milan. And now it's his turn to try and get past that Racing Point. We have a beautiful helicopter camera shot, at least on my end of things. Milan's still very low on that ERS as well, only sitting at about 15% as they make their way through turn 8. And this could, given the ERS differential between himself and that Renault driver behind him, it could, Unicorn, give Shenjie an opportunity to really close that 2.5 second gap.
Yeah, not just for Shenjie to close, but for Ben to extend as well, as Ben getting past here as BTFU into turn 11, and all nicely done for the Red Bull driver. This is now a problem for Sindaco, because if Sindaco can't get past BTFU quickly, Ben can start to extend that. Remco Van Puyen up into 12th place, past Yama. Again, same place, turn 11. Nice overtaking spot for the pair of them. Milan now, he is going to get past Sindaco, the first of the two cars between him and Ben the Bear. Just before turn 14, he'll still have DRS down into turn 1 though. But like you said, ERS at an all-time low for him. Sindaco still plenty in the tank. He knows he's not fighting the Mercedes in front of him. Shenjie is closing as well. He is now under 2 seconds between him and Sindaco, but still a similar gap to the Mercedes, just with one car in between the pair of them.
Yeah, it's starting to heat up as these tire strategies start to really come into fruition here. And I just want to take a quick moment to shout out Inside Racing League. Thank you so very much for the raid and welcome. We are here in Bahrain. Of course, it is the Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend, as I'm sure we all know, and it's time for 100% distance racing as Yama and Angel having an absolute battle through turn 4, Mick.
Yeah, they had a complete drag race, completely wheel to wheel. You couldn't separate them at all in that run into turn 4. So it was purely who was going to have that inside line and who was later on the brakes. And Yama winning out that exchange now as Milan using that DRS to get past BTFU now. BTFU now down into 5th place. Milan now up into 4th. And he's got 1.3 seconds, the gap between himself and Ben the Bear. But he's out of battery. You can see that red light flashing from the back of that Mercedes as Jones and Trent having a little bit of an exchange down there for what is 15th place.
Exchanging all over this grid, and we are still we aren't even close to halfway in this race yet.
I mean, if it was a 50% race, we wouldn't even be halfway, Strophian.
It's just, it's such a busy race, and there's so much strategy already coming in to play a role because of that virtual safety car. I imagine there's a few drivers on this grid now. Should a full safety car come out, there'd be a lot of big winners and some serious losers given that VSC. And a good gamble by a few of these drivers. Yama and Angel are not giving in. It's a battle between the two Mexican drivers. Angel.
They have to be careful though.
Yeah.
Zamis as well right behind them. looks to the racing line, the outside for turn number 4, make his way around the outside of the Williams, but Yama gives him the big squeeze, and it looks like Sindako has actually also gotten past Chenche, as actually they're having a little bit of an exchange for what is 6th place on track at the moment. Chenche with the fresher medium compound tires and quite a lot of battery in that reserve, using a little bit to try and stay with the racing point. They're actually pretty even on ERS at the moment, but Sindako doing very well to keep that Renault behind on the older medium compound tires Unicorn.
Yeah, well, Shenji's got an opportunity here. He's on the DRS of Sindako. He'll slingshot past it to BTFU. He might have it here. The exit on a 13 was really nice for the Renault driver, and he is up into P6. He should be able to hold it down through 14 and 15 as well, but Ben has extended a 1.1 second gap to Milan as Blotel and Brainstew exchange for leader things. Blotel up into P1, both on their starting compound of the mediums. 13 laps old. They're being chased by Ben the Bear, Zamas, Yama off the track, and it looks like Jones is going to follow Zamas through as well. They're side by side, the Williams and the Racing Point. It looks like the Williams might just be going a little bit faster as they go down to turn 1. Angel might get attacked by Zamas. They're going to go 4 wide down into turn 1. It's 3 wide. Jones just watching on as Yama takes P12. Zamas and Angel still side by side. Zamas a big loser here because Jones is squeezing past the Ferrari as well. Jones now going to look up the inside of turn 4 on the McLaren. The Racing Point up the inside. Has he got it? The mediums giving that little bit of extra traction. Zamas, can he find a way past Angel here? He's been looking for it for the last 5 corners, but it's not going to come just yet. Maybe into turn 8 if it's bold enough, but we've seen it so many times. Zamas, a very patient driver. A little bit of tap from Trin in the Haas, who's getting in on this action. But what a sector 2 from this train of cars for the just outside the points. And Richie getting past Yoda for P9 as well. Yoda on aging softs now.
We're about to have a potential exchange of the lead of this race as Blotel and Brainstew are flying out of turn 15 now. DRS now on the rear wing for the Alfa Romeo. He's just going to breeze by on the inside. And there's a few drivers that I think are going to have that opportunity as well. We look to Shenje as he moves on the inside of BTFU for 5th position. A little bit further down the grid, Jones on the rear of Yama. Well, we might see that train come through and have another party through Sector 1 here in Macau.
Yeah, Jones looking up the inside, and you can see as well, it's at this point right now where these guys, are, especially Yoda, should really be thinking about pitting. Ben the Bear picking up a 3-second time penalty. You don't see that very often. Jones, though, making the move on Yama into turn 1. And Zamas, spun! The Ferrari's around at turn number 2. Just got too eager on the power on those 14-lap-old hard compound tires, and that is the Ferrari now down into 17th place. Freeware is trying to catch him up as the Ferrari's recovering, but I don't think it's going to quite be enough. But that is so unfortunate for the Ferrari driver as he was right in the thick of things, Unicorn.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. 14-lap-old hards. He'd be hoping to go a little bit further. I'll have to see what the tire temperatures are doing after that one because, well, it's a desert here. They might be a little bit warm now. 14 laps on those hards. He's one of 3 drivers who are still on those starting hards. Yama and Angel, who are in a little bit of an exchange for 13th. About a second between them now. This grid really starting to ease itself into just sort of that comfortable zone where people aren't being attacked lap after lap by each other. But we've got an issue, I think. There's a very stationary Neon. He's spun again. This time a corner before. It was turn 13 last time, turn 12 this time. And, well, it's not been a good start to this race so far from this time. He's still got his front wing, though. So he doesn't have to come into the pits. Yoda, he is getting off those 15-lap-old softs. You mentioned that he'd have to be getting off those soon. The Williams in, and we'll have to see what he goes for. Presumably mediums to do a 2-stop. And it is those yellow walls for him. But so far, so good for most drivers. Domi might get nice and close to Sindako in a bit. The fresher mediums really providing a nice bit of traction through 5, 6, and 7. And he's really close to that gap to the Racing Point ahead of him, Striff.
Domi really with a really good chunk of traction coming out of turn 8 right now. Sindako with those front left lockups really not going to help him through turn 10 here. DRS on the rear for Domi. Look at the exit He is eating this Racing Point alive down into turn 11. The tire differential, of course, playing a role. Sindako on that starting compound.
Neon's had another issue. He's just gone drifting at turn number 8. And it looks like Microland is trying to catch him up. He was having quite a close battle there with Freeway and Zamus just a few moments ago. But this grid really starting to spread itself out, but we still have 41 laps remaining in this race, guys.
Yeah, 41 laps. Neon, well, 3 spins to his name so far, and we talked about it before. Confidence, it's going to be an all-time low for Neon. He's, you know, those tires that are probably not feeling brilliant after a few drifts into the off-track. Domi, Sindaku still having a nice little battle. Domi, a much better exit out of turns 2 and 3, though, to give himself a real gap to the Racing Point behind, who's going to reel the Ferrari in with a bit of DRS usage into turn 4, but not really going to save him too much here. But yeah, like you said, everything's spacing out a little bit, everyone getting comfortable. Pit stops starting to come in. You can see a lot of mediums right now, but a lot of them different ages. Yoda, Zamus exchanging down into turn 1. Yoda in the Williams ahead for P16 now, and Zamus doesn't really have an answer for it on those old hards, and we saw him spin not too long ago. And like you said, 40 laps still left in this one. I don't think that Zamus and Neon are going to be the only two that we've been seeing spin in this one.
Wheel to wheel right now. Speaking of Neon Microlander now, he's wanting to dispatch this McLaren as we come through turn 4, now 5. Neon just holding ahead through 6 and 7. Tight racing between these two. Tight on tires as well, and well, Neon with the penalty or no penalty, he's going to want to defend and drive his race, and it's a long race left ahead of us, and there's always opportunities.
This could all come down to a safety car within the dying stages. Think about lap 50, lap 51, if someone were to have a spin. This looks like Ben and Milan having a little bit of an exchange through turns 1 and 2. Ben's gotten another penalty.
Yeah, that's going to hurt him.
Looks like Milan as well has gotten through, so I don't know if there's been a mistake or something for the tie driver. But he's now lost a net position because Milan also pitted under that virtual safety car. And Ben with those 2 penalties, that's really going to come back to bite him in the latter stages of this race.
Well, there has to have been a mistake somewhere for Ben, because he was well over a second ahead of Milan, and now we see him side by side. It's forced another time penalty out of him. Neon, Microlander there, side by side through turn 1. Both on, again, similarly aged tires to those guys up at the front. Neon ahead. P18 his coming out of turn 3, and it looks like it will stay all that way down into turn 4. Meanwhile, BTFU, Domi there side by side as they come through turn 11, but BTFU just not finding the traction on the outside that he needs, and he's on these older mediums as well. 17 laps these tires now after starting on them, and it's a stint that will start to feel very long for these drivers who are much more used to doing stints in the mid to low teens rather than these much longer ones on these soft mediums, and the hards as well. They're going to be going for quite some time as Ben gets Milan back down into turn 1 on the inside for the Red Bull driver, and he is ahead at the moment.
Well, if these two continue to dance, it's just going to allow a driver like Shenjie to potentially catch himself up into the equation. Milan now, he looks back for that inside through turn 4, but he thinks better of it. He's just going to hold on to the rear of the Red Bull right now. But I think it's safe to say these two are clearly engaged for the coming laps ahead of us. They're on the same tires. I mean, you have Ben with that penalty, but that doesn't change your on-track position presently, and he has that Mercedes in his rearview mirrors right now.
So you look a little bit further down this grid. Freeware's getting very close to the back of Yoda, despite the tire disadvantage that he may have. Showing some great pace is the German in that AlphaTauri car, as well as a Microlander and Neon. They're still having their little duel. Into turn 4 they go. Microlander looking around the outside of the Dutchman. Into turn 4, they're still side by side on the exit. Neon having that inside line through turn 5, but Microlander just a little bit further ahead. And it looks like Microlander is going to be get the better of that one on this occasion. But knowing Neon, he's not going to let that one go very easily at all. And neither is Milan, as these two now, for what is the net lead of this race, the front two yet to make a stop in this one. Battling it out, looks like he's got zero battery coming into turn one, does the Mercedes driver. Ben the Bear a little bit earlier on the brakes than the Mercedes. He will get that DRS, but he hasn't gotten the best exit that he can,
was
Unicorn.
not
He's
good.
falling away.
I don't know if it's terrible for him because, well, the 6 seconds is really going to be a problem. There's a racing point in Sindaco, I think, off. Yeah, it is. No damage, but he's dropped Richie there, and it looks like Remco Van Putten won't make the move. Possibly will catch quite significantly and might even get DRS here, and we've already talked about how important that is. But Ben, it's unfortunate for him that ERS, I wonder what he's saving it for, because Milan, he's really burnt through that battery, and that could be a huge problem for the Mercedes. But Ben, I wonder what he's waiting for. As Remco, he's getting a little bit unsettled through 6 and 7 in that Renault. Yeah, Ben the Bear. Half a second off Milan now. He'll get DRS down into turn one again, and I'm sure we'll see them exchange into that first turn, Striff. But right now, it just seems a little bit unfortunate for the pair of them.
Milan, Ben fighting at the tip of this grid at the very, very top, and Microlander, Neon still having their race-long exchange, and it's going to hurt them.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, they must be having a lot of fun out there on the track, but there's actually also got to be maybe an exchange for lead of things, as Ben the Bear and Milan both going side by side, but Brainstew and Blotel also having a look, and it's at this point 20-lap-old medium compound tires. It's at this point as Milan gets a little bit out of shape through turn two, where the mediums are going to be starting to drop off a little bit. Milan up the inside into turn four on the tie driver. Ben the Bear trying to find the switchback if he can. T-Mac picks up a penalty, but it looks like the Mercedes is through, but there's actually a spin. I do believe that's T-Mac at the exit of turn 11. You hate to see it, but that Haas driver clearly having a few issues with that car. Hopefully it isn't something of a precursor to what we see tomorrow. But yeah, T-Mac really seeming to struggle with this one. But Ben the Bear as well, he's still within that DRS range, but he really is, I don't know if struggling is the right word, but he's having a little bit of trouble keeping up with the Mercedes, despite the ERS and what we saw, the pace advantage that he had in qualifying.
Yeah, it's not just that. There's a few things I noticed as well. Milan's fuel light is on, and at this stage of a race, that might not be the best thing for him. So not only is he low on ERS, he's low on fuel. And that means he's not going to be able to run Rich Mix for too much longer, at least not as much as Ben the Bear will be able to as the tie driver. At a turn 15, a brilliant run of speed. He's still got 40%. He sets the fastest sector 3 of the race. Going to the track map, and there he goes up into P3. The front two still yet to come in. But yeah, Ben now up into P3. Milan also picked up a 3-second time penalty when he got unsettled through turn 2 last lap. So Ben now only has a 3-second deficit to the Mercedes driver. Remco Van Putten, he breezes past Sindaco on the start-finish straight, and those fresher mediums will be helping him out to do so as they go down into turn 1. That position is secured for the Renault driver.
Brainstew, Blotel still fighting at the tip of this grid right now as Angel and Yoda exchange coming down into turn 1. It looks like Angel might have an opportunity to look back at the Williams. Nothing doing just yet. Freeware, 2.5 on the rear now of Angel. He was holding with Yoda earlier as Microlander and Neon still continuing to exchange through into turn 1 here. Microlander a little bit of a lockup. They're both on some aging mediums as well. The majority of this grid on the medium tire. Few drivers yet to pit. Here goes Neon again. Microlander on the outside on the way into turn 4 here, and Neon holding. But we've talked about how this is going to hurt them, and I can say it's lost them a second to Zamis, not Shenjay. Lost them a second to Zamis ahead, and just even now as we've begun to talk about it, they've lost half a second to Zamis through into turn 8.
But this is one hell of a battle for 18th. It's certainly the most intense battle I've ever seen for 18th, Striffium. Up the inside it goes, the McLaren, the Dutchman Neon making his way through. He will also have that DRS, but the slipstream and the ERS on that Alfa Romeo Microlander. Is he going to have a look into turn 11? No, not quite, as BTFU now finally saying it's time to get off those 22-lap-old medium compound tires. And It's another set of mediums, so he's committing to that two-stop strategy. Probably, well, it has to be a set of softs at the end. Two-stop definitely seems to be the faster option from what I've heard from some of the drivers, and of course from last year's endurance race as well. Trin coming into the pits as well to get it off his set of medium compound tires. But these front two still yet to come in, and that gap has really tightened up now because Ben the Bear is right on the back of that Spaniard strip.
Yeah, Blottel absolutely holding on now, just looking at Microlander and Neon as they exchange once again, and they are just dancing, these two drivers right now. We'll jump on with Blottel and Ben in a minute as we come through into another... Well, there's a lot of overtaking opportunity through here in Bahrain. Neon going a little bit deep through turn 4. These two just don't want to let each other go. Yoda and Yama exchange as Yoda on these 6-lap-old mediums now, getting ahead of his teammate for 12th position. We're going to jump ahead.
Oh, Ben!
Ben, well, I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. It might have been a shaky exit coming out of turn 15. I was just about to switch, and you brought it up. No damage on the front wing, but he has dropped 1.5 on the rear of Milan in this Mercedes.
Yeah, and this sort of highlights a point I was about to make. Ben and Milan have been fighting, but they haven't really been costing each other time to Shenjie behind, because even after Ben's mistake there, he's still 2.3 seconds and completely out of DRS. Obviously, that penalty might cost Ben, but at the pace that he and Milan have been running away for the rest of this grid, and that's only going to get increased a little bit with DRS on Blotel, provided they don't get stuck behind Blotel and Brainstew for leader things, particularly given the Blotel and Brainstew should be coming into the bit sooner. We got a virtual safety car. T-Max out. He's had a crash coming out of turn 4, it would seem, in the Haas. Jones there getting a big view, and yeah, there's a wheel rolling across the circuit. And that's a huge, huge impact for the Haas driver coming out of turn 4.
Well, that's very unfortunate for him. VSC deployed. I imagine a lot of the drivers, well, I think a great deal of the drivers would have preferred to have a full safety car to try and bring themselves into some striking positions here. Neon and Microlander are still battling through Sector 1.
Blotel as well within that DRS range has a full battery in that Mercedes, so he's going to really want to use that as his stint is starting to come towards a close. 24 laps on those medium compound tires. We're almost getting towards the halfway point in this race, and it's at this point, gents, well, ladies and gents in the chat, but also you two here in the commentary box, where not just the tires are getting fatigued, but the drivers as well. We've seen a couple of mistakes out of the fan favorite Ben the Bear, the world record holder here at Bahrain. He showed us that blistering pace, but the consistency hasn't quite been there for the tire driver. And hopefully for his sake, he's able to get that under wraps. But as this race continues to go on and on, these drivers are going to start really feeling the effects of that fatigue. Hands are going to start to be a little bit worn, a little bit of a loss of precision on the pedals as well. A lot of things can happen, especially with these strict corner cutting and the full damage that we're running in these races now, as these drivers start to get a little bit tired.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing, because in a normal 50% league race, you get into these intense battles, you sort of quiet down for the mid stage, and then you're reawoken by the fact that it's the last 5 laps and you need to push. Now they're in that point where they usually be, that adrenaline would spike up again, knowing that if they make that overtake, they're probably going to finish in that position. Now they're on autopilot, but they're not going to awaken for another 25 laps. They've already done 25. Brainstew pits from the lead of the race into the Alfa Romeo garage. Is he going to commit to the 2-stop as well, or will it be hard? It looks like it is the 2-stop for him.
No, it's the hards.
It is the odds. So the Alfa Romeo trying to 1-stop, and now Blotel, this is an interesting one. He has to respond to this in however he sees fit. Does he go for a 2-stop, or does he commit to a 1-stop as well? Sindaku gets out ahead of Brainstew, who rejoins the track in 9th. And that's a nice position for him to be in. Just depends on the pace of those hards and the pace he's got on those hards. But with all the drivers ahead, still to pit, it's a pretty solid position for the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you. He's going to have utilization of DRS on this lap coming out of turns 10. And, well, he'll get DRS just period on the rear of Sindako until he's able to catch up wherever he needs to go here. Well, Sindako just let him through. Now Brain Stew, will he be within range of Remco? I don't think Brain Stew wanted that. I think he just weaved his car because he didn't want that.
Yeah, meanwhile, in the the tail end of this grid, Angel getting past Freeway for 14th. Microlander and Neon are still having their tango, which it seems to have gone on for the past 10 laps or so. But still in that fight for the lower points positions. Blotel into the pits. Ben the Bear now starting the fastest up of the race. The first driver into the 1 minute 29s with the 1 minute 29.7. Blotel onto a set of softs.
Wow.
A set of softs. So he is committing to that 2-stop because those softs are definitely not going to make it 31 laps, guys.
Yeah, that's I'm really scratching my head on this one, Mick. He's onto these soft compound tires. Remco now just coming out in front of him here. Where's Brain Stew? Brain Stew. Brain Stew is right in front of Blotel, but of course Blotel onto the soft compound tires now. He is gonna have a lot of fight in him. But I cannot say that this has really been the call for him. He has, I think, sacrificed serious position on track.
Speaking of fighting, Striffy and Freeway getting past Angel yet again for 14th place. Oh, Angel losing the rear a little bit out of turn 2. This is going to open up the door for Zamas. He smells blood in the water. That Scarlet Red Ferrari sees that papaya orange car. Really struggling out of turn 2 and 3. He's closed the gap between half a second, but it isn't going to be quite enough to really make the move just yet, as Neon and Micron are still going at it. They're just going side by side yet again, Drift, through turns 5, 6, and 7. They must be having the time of their lives. Neon looking around the outside once again into turn 8, looking for that switchback as well. He loses the rear just a little bit, but he's using that battery. He's using all the grip that's left in those medium compact tires. Microlander backs out of that, and Ben the Bear as well, making a pass for the lead of this race, Unicorn.
Yeah, well, apparently Blotel's got damaged. I think it probably came when he exited the pit lane and was really just side by side with Sindaku. But those softs, I wonder if they could go 15 laps as Milan, Ben the Bear, they're exchanging down into turn 4 for the lead, and Milan picks up P1. Ben's not having any of it though. He's going to come back through 5 and then following around the outside of 6. He will have the inside line down into 8 if he can hold it. But Milan, what an exit from him, and the Mercedes driver really just holds off Ben for the lead of this race for the time being. But yeah, we'll have to see. Blotel's back into the pit lane. He's repairing that damage, and he's back onto mediums. So, well, there's the 2-stop. He's going to take those to the. Oh, actually, it's going to be a long stint, but he should be able to make it.
Definitely going to be a long stint for him. He is going to have to pull just shy of 30 laps on that set of tires to the end of this race. But it is it is faster, I think, for him now to be on this tire overall. We'll see if anything happens here. Microlander Neon exchanging now. Blotel's just in front of them, and well, we'll see if these drivers are able to maybe catch up with him here, use DRS on him. Maybe they'll break this battle. Who knows?
There comes Trin. Trin's getting in on this action as well. Microlander and Neon doing their usual tango through the middle sector of the lap, but they've cost themselves so much time that Trin on these fresher soft compound tires is right behind them as Ben making a pass for the lead as well into turn number 1. Just keeping an eye on those guys. But looks like they're having a 3-way battle for the wooden spoon at this rate. Driffium, Trin,
The wooden spoon.
turn 11.
Oh, Microlander holding on to that 17th position right now. Trin comes through, and Neon's had a big issue, and it looks like the pressure of a third driver has caused a problem for the McLaren, as we do have a yellow popping up through that section of circuit.
I think they're just enjoying themselves. Microlander slowing down, waiting for Neon to get back in that DRS. I think they're just having some fun right there on the track. Neon doing a little bit of a wave as thanks, but up in the points positions. BTFU looking up the inside of turn 4 on the Italian in that race point. Sadako trying to hold on as best as he can on those 28-lap-old mediums. He has been on those tires since the start of this race, and we have finally made it. These guys have completed a league race, and now Unicorn, they have to do it all over again.
Yeah, and that is a very, very impressive stint. It sheds good light, though, for Blotel and his strategy to set those mediums to the end. But yeah, Sindaku now, he's still in P8 on these old tyres, but he's got BTFU looking around the outside of him down into turn 8, and I can't imagine that those mediums are very...
There's a safety car out. On hell.
Out of turn 8.
Oh, well, look, I think there's going to be a couple happy drivers about that. Let's take a look at gap to leader right now. I do not believe anyone has been lapped. And, well, look, just like that, ladies and gentlemen.
Shenji and Domi. Ben hasn't overtaken the safety car, and Shenji and Domi straight in. For fresh mediums. This could really flip the table on its head. And, well, Ben, Milan, they've got a big problem with Shenji and Domi on those fresh tires behind them. Brainstew, he's sandwiched between the two. Shenji, Domi, Brainstew on these hards, taking track position over the fresh mediums. And well, we were just discussing how they would go to the end from here. Sindaku, well, he's going to have to go to hards. He does. But everyone pitting here, and Ben and Milan been caught out here as freeway, a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Yama.
Oh, I imagine that was on the way in too.
Lane.
Yeah, I imagine that was on the way in.
You have to pit now. Just this race has been completely flipped on its head, ladies and gentlemen. The two effective leaders for the entirety of this race, they've had a significant gap over those behind them, are now theoretically a pit stop behind. Those two are the only drivers that need to pit in this race to make it to the end. And Yoda, who's come in for a fresh set of softs in at that 12th place. Not sure if he just ran out of tires or really didn't want to go to a set of hards. But he is on those soft compound tires. It'd be a stretch to make those to the end, but near on impossible if you're asking me. But Ben the Bear and Milan effectively a pit stop behind. And the timing of that safety car meant that Ben couldn't come into the pits, but he would be stuck behind that safety car. So he's really got his work cut out for him for the remaining 27 laps.
Well, we're here. Lap 30, about to be 31. Milan on the way. Oh, he thought about it. He was on the way into the pit lane. He crossed back over. Jones has, well, thought it best to come in, and I think that Ben and Milan have made a crucial error. Absolutely crucial error here. We're on lap 31. Safety car conditions. The entirety of this grid is about to get bunched up. The entirety of this grid is on much fresher rubber, and, well, that track position they're currently holding on to doesn't mean nearly as much as it did a couple laps ago.
I think they've made the right call to stay out here, because you pit now, you drop. You pit later, you're still going to drop, but you might drop less depending on where that DRS train breaks. So you've just got to stay ahead, and they've both got pace. The tire difference is huge, though. The difference being is that they should be able to stretch those tires effectively to where softs to the end might be possible. I think that's their only saving grace. I think the soft, medium, soft is their only hope at really just reeling something back from this, because you pit for mediums in a bit. Maybe you got pace at the end, but if you got softs to the end in a few laps' time, that's a real benefit over the drivers you're behind. Either way, they come out behind drivers, whichever way you look at it, and it's unfortunate that 6 seconds of penalties for Ben. That's going to hurt him, especially when he drops into the back of this grid. Well, not the back, but it will be a fair chunk of the way down.
Can I
3 seconds over.
Can I throw a little curveball in all of that? I think both of you know what I'm going to say.
I do.
We're under safety car, ladies and gentlemen. You know what that means. We might get another one. Or two more. You know. Safety cars like to cause these other little things called safety cars. And with this grid having been spaced out, you know, we have a couple of drivers on this grid who have been absolutely locked together. Microlander and Neon now at the back of this grid. I imagine this has rejuvenated them. I would be shocked if it didn't, because now they have another opportunity to really charge through this grid. And considering the fighting prowess they were showing through that last 20 laps or 15 laps or however long it was that they were fighting and doing that dance, well, they should take that to this field. Yeah, and, well, Milan's in. Ben, oh, wow. This is now really shaken up.
softs as well, Unicorn, on that Mercedes. He is going to fall to 18th place. But he doesn't, I think, need to make another stop. I mean, I guess that's what he's hoping for, but still, we're on lap 32. These softs can maybe make it. It's a big stretch, though. Surely.
Well, I'm thinking about it, and well, we got what, 25 laps. It would be realistically 13 laps in a standard league race on the softs, and
That's a lot.
If that doesn't pan out for him,
stretch.
I do not want to be the guy that told him to do that. That's all I want to say, because
It's definitely going to be you. Definitely.
I don't think the softs were the right call here for where he was on this. I mean, Yoda's in 11th position on the softs, but now Milan to come in. I mean, this really.
I think he's just throwing the race.
I think he's really blown it here with that stop. Ben, maybe he thought he was calling Ben on a bluff here because they saw the safety car wasn't coming in at the split. I don't know. But this race,
Ben got in his head.
This race is about to really, really kick off once again here with this grid bunched up. Look at the difference in tires here. We've got BTFU in 5th. He's on 8-lap old set. Ben leading this race. 23 laps he's been running on these, and it'll be 24 when he crossed the line. Safety car is coming in as we cross through into turn 13.
I think you saw Milan look at the pit lane on the first time him and Ben came past it. And I think Ben staying out really just got to him. He's like, well, do I stay out? Ben thinks he's made the wrong decision. Pits now, and it's put him to 18th when it could have put him to about 9th or 10th, I think. So a real mistake from Milan there, whichever way you look at it. Whether the softs can make it to the end or not, we are gearing up for that restart. Ben, he needs to get a good one here as he comes out of the final corners. He's hammered down. They're all away again. Green flag racing will resume once he's crossed that line. Looking down into turn 1, the front 4 have got away nicely. The Red Bull of Richie in the background getting nice and wide. And it's Shenjay looking up the inside of Ben into turn 1 for lead of this race. And Shenjay side by side with the Thai driver doesn't find P1 from him. And he stays in P2. Sindaku gets past Jones. Yoda and Jones now battling for P10.
And Freeware sitting behind them right now at the popcorn, coming down into turn 4. Doesn't want to just eat the popcorn, wants to steal Yoda's, and he's looking at Jones as well as we come out of turn 4. Yoda not yielding anything here. Freeware with a look up turn 6 through 7 now around the outside, and now he's going to have the inside into turn 8. Is Yoda yielding any of this? Yama now looking at Yoda through in the inside, and Zamis is on the rear of all of this action. The train is in formation. Sindako right now is the kink in this grid. 1.5 on the rear of Blotel. Yoda a little shaky coming out of turn 10. Yama through on the inside. Here comes Zamis, and Yoda's got damage on the front left.
That's the last thing that he needed on those fresh softs to try and make up any kind of track position at all. But these front 4, Ben was really feeling the wear on those 24-lap-old medium compact tires. Shenjay only 2 tenths behind him. Brainstu doing very well on those hards. Oh, Domi getting so close to the back of that Alfa Romeo through into turn 14, 15. Here we go. Overtake enabled. They're using all the battery that they can. Shenjay pulling off to the right-hand side. He's now going side by side with the Thai driver, the Red Bull, making their way into the first corner. Shenjay up the inside into turn 1. A little bit of a lock up there. Domi looking to make his way through as well. BTFU and Ace Richie in the mix as well right behind them. These top 6, absolutely nothing separating them at the moment. Domi up into 3rd place now. Brains 2. He's lost out, I think, on those hard compound tires, and now Ace Richie making his way into 5th place. BTFU is getting forced off the track. That allows Remco up into 6th. Little Blotel trying to make his way past at any possible moment as well. But Shenjay using those fresh tires to good effect already. He's already pulled out a 2nd gap, Unicorn.
Yeah, that's huge. Ben the Bear, well, he's doing all right on those old tires, but Shenjay pulling away for a 2nd. No penalties to his name. That is a strong case for lead of this race. Freeware, Sindaku, they've exchanged for P9 coming out of turn 10. It looks like they're still side by side as well. And down into turn 11 they come. Freeware well and truly ahead there. But Shenjay pulling away from Ben the Bear. But Ben, he's still got that kink in the chain, as Jeff described it. Sindaka was freeware now, as freeware's overtaken in 1.7 seconds. That DRS that continues.
Domi now, yeah, he's just hunting down Ben on these now very expired medium compound tires. Bloodtail, BTFU exchanging here as we come through the penultimate now final turn, 14 and 15, and Bloodtail really wanting to hunt down Remco Van Putten. We look back to Domi as he's wheel to wheel with Ben on the drag race down into turn 1 on the inside now. Domi, Ben through the first, now second, now third turns of this circuit. Ben is holding on for absolute life right now with these 26 lap old mediums, and this is costing the entirety of this grid, I have to say. Ben is not giving in.
Yeah, meanwhile as well, right behind them is an exchange for what is 12th place. And there's a racing, but a big hit between himself and Zamis in that Ferrari. But the Italian does very well to keep that car under control. Now Milan trying to recover anything they can from this race. And Darko locks up, goes deep into turn 8. The Mercedes using those softs to good effect. And he's gotten that move done. What a move there for the Mercedes driver.
Very nice opportunistic move there. Brainstew gets Ben now as Shenjay, Domi, Brainstew are your top 3 in this race. Ben is going to be hurting his teammate for this occasion. Jeffrey Ritchie, aka Ace, flying through out of turn 12, now through 13, wanting to make sure he keeps up with the Italian Brainstew. Ben pulling off line to let him through. Where's Remco?
Right behind them, Striff.
Not close enough to get Ben just yet. Ben, however, not the best exit he wanted out of turn 15. Look at the run. Look at the run coming out of Remco here. There's not much Ben can do on these tires anymore.
Remco up the inside. He might get Ace Ritchie
Bloodtail.
as well.
Holy
Bloodtail.
smokes. Bloodtail with a massive Hail Mary of a lunge. He gets Ben. Remco really not wanting to give any opportunity to Bloodtail, or excuse me, Ritchie. Everyone's just so tight through this first sector.
There's nothing separating these drivers at the moment, Striff. Absolutely nothing, except these guys have to clear the traffic. By traffic, I mean Ben, as quickly as they can, because 27 laps on those mediums, those tires are dead. Unicorn, those tires are dead.
Yeah, and I think that's the first time I've ever heard Ben the Bear described as traffic, especially around Bahrain, Mick. But like you said, he is the slowest driver right now on this grid, and the DRS train is healing itself as well. Freeware, Jones, Milan, they're all back within 1 second of the car in front. Yama, he's just on the edge there. Microlander, Sindaku, they exchange down into turn 11 as well. But Ben, you've got to be thinking, if you're the Thai driver, when do I come into the pit stop? Because he's really dropping right now. And regardless of where the pit stop throws him out, these medium tires are doing exactly the same thing. He is dropping his Milan. Jones, they're exchanging Milan. We saw him fighting up at the front earlier in this race. Now he, on these soft tires, he's done very well to claw his way back up this grid into P10 now. Ahead, Ben the Bear dropping. He's in P8. So maybe I was wrong. The soft tires, it was a brilliant strategy to pit. It just depends on whether he can make them to the end, because he's now right behind Ben. And this is exactly where he was when we were under safety car conditions. It's almost like both of them were here before. And oh, there's a big battle down into turn 4. Domi, Ritchie. But they've made it through. And they're both still running in this race, guys.
Oh, Ritchie, yeah, Brains too. Coming through turn 8 here.
Deep. Bloodtail's gotten very deep. That might leave the door open to BTFU. No, not quite. But Ben and Milan going side by side into turns 9 and 10. The Mercedes has the outside line, and just the amount of grip in those softs is absolutely incredible. Now Jones looking at the stricken Red Bull, and Ben is now out of the points. What is the Thai driver doing? Why hasn't he pit yet?
This is such an interesting call from him. I don't know what to say about this. He was in first, I want to say 5 laps ago, and now we're here watching him in 11th position, just dropping like a stone through this grid. What's going through your head in that seat?
Well, Striff, I'll tell you what's going through my head. This is reminding me of when we first saw Ben the Bear. You and I commentated our first race together. he lost the race because of a poor strategy call, and it might be the case now as well. Brainstew, Richie, they're exchanging for P3, and there's a bit of contact. Remco off the track, Blotel follows through.
Freeware's gonna get 2 in 1 here. He just launched up the inside of the pair of them. Freeware just took Brainstew and Richie, but Brainstew not wanting to give in that easily.
They both just cost themselves huge amounts of time.
Remco picking up a 5-second as well for an illegal overtake, and I think that's wing damage on the second Red Bull car. That is Richie with that front right end plate missing, and that's the last thing that he needed in this. Milan goes deep, trying to avoid hitting the Red Bull. Brainstew is now side by side with him. They both have DRS, both trying to use as much of that battery as they probably can. Brainstew having a little bit of a look at the inside of turn 11, but it's not going to be any sort of move on this occasion. But these guys, they have the hunger of the Americas guys. That's Zamis, BTFU, and Yama all right behind them. The Americas guys are here to play, Strip, and boy, oh boy, are we in for a show.
Well, here goes Milan now. The soft compound, a really big snap from Richie there to try and close the door and defend the move, but Milan says, no way, I'm going to go around the outside. He gets 6th position now. Richie, he's got that damage. Brainstew on the rear. Milan drops it to the inside down the straight here. It's a drag race as Richie's using that battery. Brainstew's looking at the pair of them into turn 1. Richie now around the outside, wanting to hold just ahead of them. There's so much fighting as Blotel, Freeware on the rear now of Remco. You look at Freeware, he's wheel to wheel with Blotel. They're having a drag race into turn 4. Freeware on the inside now. Remco just ahead of him. Blotel is trying to hold his best against the German. He's still holding very well as we come through turns 5, 6, now through 7. Where are we going to land? Blotel still 4th position for him, dropping a little bit of time to Remco ahead. Richie, he's dropping now. Milan safely in 6th position. Jones is looking for the Red Bull, and this is the racing that you want to see, just pure intensity. Jeff, not having a good time. Mr. Richie, not having a good time at all. Blotel's had a big issue. There's been a massive crash. Tons of debris on circuit, no terminal retirement. Zamis slips through into 7th position. Blotel slid through turn 11 and the VSC is out.
Oh my goodness, BTFU's around as well at turn 11. There was just too many cars in too small of a space. And it looks like some drivers have paid the ultimate price, well, as close to the ultimate price as they probably could. Unfortunately, everyone is still in this race from all that fighting, but a few front wings need to be replaced, Unicorn.
Yeah, absolutely, and the safety of VSC at least will help them. 2 drivers flying into the pit lane, and Neon nearly running into the rear of AEST Richie. He's already got a 5-second penalty, I believe, for tapping the rear of Brainstew. Interesting enough, Ben the Bear, he went to the medium tires, and we haven't seen Milan take advantage of this VSC. So Milan is either very bold on those tires, or Ben the Bear is, just not as confident on the tire wear side of things, but he might get a lot of positions back here. He does. He flies all the way to 11th place on those mediums. He's still got the penalties, though. Freeware, Remco Van Putten with Milan on the back of them on those softs through 5, 6, and 7. Freeware looks around the outside, looking for the switch back through 8, and he looks for it with the lockup from Remco. What a move from Freeware. He's on a real charge right now. No one seems to be able to stop the German driver. Down into turn 10 they come, and they all stay in the same position. Remco had a little bit of slide in the Renault. Milan all over the rear of him. He's got a much better exit, a little bit smoother. Remco's got damage as well. He chose not to come in and pit it, but he is missing that left end plate there. But Milan through. Brainstew on the rear of this. Samus not too far behind either in that Ferrari, and he's on 9 lap orders. Remco's had another issue. Brainstew straight up the inside through 13. Very, very nicely done. The Ferrari now just watching on.
Something to talk about here. Shende and Zamis right now in this top 10 are penalty. Listen, as I say that, there's a big tap. Zamis has tapped Remco. Remco has slid. He is off-road here. Sindako coming through out of 14-15, and now we have Remco dropping into 10th position, and there was a big tap through the penultimate and final turn there.
Well, I'm not sure if it's deliberate or not, but Yama needs to give a big thank you to Remco for staying on the throttle. He throttled himself straight out of the way of the Williams. Otherwise, it would have been a huge crash on that final corner.
Yeah, Remco into the pits onto a fresh set of softs that will comfortably now make it to the end of this race. Lap 41 of 57, ladies and gentlemen. We're seeing just some absolutely amazing racing. And Freeware, he's doing all that he can to try and close that gap to Milan. Those soft tires still going to have a fair bit of life left in them. But it isn't too far away from that crossover point between the two compounds, and the German is going to try and use all of the grip that he has left in those tires to get back onto that podium. But as well, all this fighting behind them has meant absolute wonders for both Chenjay and Domi Unicorn.
Well, Shenjay, someone I really... When we had Milan and Ben at the front of things, Shenjay didn't have the pace. Milan, Ben, obviously, both DRS on one another as they exchanged lap after lap. They had a couple of cars ahead of them on a different strategy, but Shenjay was never closing the gap. But he didn't pick up a penalty, as we see BTF Uno around the outside, down into turn 8. A nicely done move from him. Trin trying to stay there on the inside, but it's not going to be fruitful for the Haas driver. But yeah, Shenjay didn't seem to have the pace, but he kept himself penalty free, and that's important now because he leads things. The safety car really gave him a second wind in this race, and he's taken full advantage of it. 2.8 seconds to Domi behind. He's got a penalty. Milan has a penalty. Freeware's got a penalty. Brainsu's got one too. And if you're Shenjay right now, you just got to keep things consistent until the end. Microlander, DRS, ERS, a nice exit out of the final corner. He breezes past Trin for P13. But with 15 laps to go, these drivers will be seeing the end of the light at the end of the tunnel, but it will tap. Microlander spinning BTFU, and BTFU gets to turn around nicely, and you can see Microlander there waiting for the AlphaTauri.
Well, he waited a little bit long. BT gone. Microlander, good sportsman there though, tapping him and giving that position back. And there goes Yoda. He is finished with this race, and that will be one Williams car into the pit lane, not coming across the finish line for the end of this one.
You know, that's the thing with the endurance races. You know, through all the fighting and through everything that happens, we do want to see drivers finishing this race. It is a long race, and it is a feat just to finish one of these. So it's very unfortunate to see last year's endurance champion out of this one. Hopefully his Williams car doesn't cause too many issues for the front runners, as Milan and Freeware are closing that gap to the Williams very, very quickly. Yoda's AI car right on the apex of turn 3. Oh my goodness, Milan and Freeware both able to navigate that one, but Blotel has had a little bit of an issue as well. Stryfium, he's now down into 8th place, and Yama's gotten past, as well as Zamus as well. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what happened with Blotel and Zamus. I happened to be on board for that exchange. Blotel got ahead of Zamus on his way into turn 1, clearing the Ferrari. Zamus, a little bit of a tap on the rear of that Mercedes, putting him through the turn, and Zamus still 6th position. Yama getting through as a result.
Neon and Trin having an exchange for 12th place. The Dutchman getting ahead of the Australian through the first sequence of corners. Trin now down into 13th place, with BTFU just 1.8 seconds behind him. But I believe the closest gap on track, aside from these two, is that fight for 7th place, because Lotel, the Spaniard, I think he's a bit enraged at the Ferrari driver, and he wants to get back those positions as fast as he can, Unicorn.
Yeah, you just gotta, in these last two stages, just because we are coming to the end, and just because you want to get those positions back, you can't throw it all away. We've done 44 laps right now, and, well, it's called endurance for a reason. We are well and truly over that 50% mark that we would usually see these drivers take on. We've seen a few mistakes popping up here and there that maybe wouldn't have happened if these drivers had only had to go the 50% distance, but it is 100%. We've got an issue. It looks like Remco Van Putten causing a yellow flag in sector 3, but it's Yama defending from Blotel down into turn 4. And Blotel a late move it around, and that is not what you want to be doing. That's the little mistakes I'm talking about there. Well, you can see it. It's starting to get a grip on these guys this race. Like Neon looking for it around the outside of Trin in turn 1, up the inside in turn 2. What a move from the McLaren. A light squeeze Trin in the runoff. Thankfully, this track well and truly open for overtaking. And, well, the McLaren ahead with damage into P12. Trin 13th, and BTFU is not too far behind these guys either.
No, Neon with a little bit of damage, it would appear, on the front right of that McLaren right now, and Trin and BTFU will be trying to take advantage of that. A little bit of a shake coming out of Neon through out of turn 8, and Brainstew, he had a disconnection. We'll see if we can get him back in. Yoda leaving after his unfortunate race and retirement in the pit lane. Of course, just really quick, massive shout out to our fantastic partners, Next Level Racing. Check them out in the chat and the panels below via their website for some awesome gear. You can see Zamis now taking full advantage of that AI controlled car of Brainstew. We're going to probably have a timing tower desync in a short moment here. Yama, 1 second and closing on the rear of Brainstew. We'll see that desync come as soon as he gets back into his car. Neon, Trin, BTFU in very close proximity. BTFU 14th. Neon and Trin have exchanged.
Yeah, BTFU is doing that DRS. You can see the snake that Trin is doing. Neon all the way against the pit walls, Unicorn and Striff. I remember there's two of you in here now. Yeah, he's made his move through on the Haas driver, but he's used a lot of battery to do that, Unicorn.
Yeah, these three, very, very tight. We've seen Neon. We talk about how tired these drivers get. He's been in a battle pretty much every single lap he's been in this race with, you know, the exception of the safety car. I should think Michael Lander Jones, they're very close. Michael Lander just getting it backed out down into turn 5. Nicely done from the pair of them to keep things clean. And for the most part, it has been a clean race. And well, with the tiredness that you get from these endurance races, you've got to give huge props to these drivers. One thing I want to draw you guys' attention to, Milan, 12 laps on those softs now. We've still got 11 to go. That Mercedes, I think he's going to struggle to get those tires to the end. And even if he can get them to the end, the pace he's got in these last few laps, it can't be impressive, surely.
Brainstew making his way past Yama for 6th place. The Italian now back in that Alfa Romeo, and he's using that to good effect, trying to recover as much ground as he can because he was ahead of Zamis before his little technical issues, but he's made it 1 place up now and 1.1 seconds ahead to the American front as BTFU has picked up another penalty. And as we're getting towards the latter stages of this race, only 12 laps remaining, including the lap we are currently
here goes
on.
BTFU on a supercharged run into turn 1. He's going to get Neon and he's going to get Trin on the inside, but it's so deep. He's gone so deep here. Trin's going to go around and get him. Neon's going to get him back. Jones is through as well, and BT's spun. He's got a good chunk of damage on the front right of that wing as well, it would appear, and that's just not what you want to be doing.
Yeah, just a little bit too ambitious on the brakes. He tried to go for that Hail Mary dive that we've seen a couple of other drivers do in this race, but just couldn't get the car stopped in time, and I think it might have just been in Neon's blind spot for that one, and Neon couldn't really leave him any room to get back on the circuit. So very unfortunate there for the American driver in that AlphaTauri, but he's still not that wooden spoon just yet. So he's got that going for him. Trin doing all that he can to break that slipstream. Neon doing well to try and stay with the back of that Haas drive. This is the battle for 12th place at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. And Microlander, Neon's best friend probably for this race, because they've spent so much time together, is right behind the McLaren as well now, Unicorn.
Yeah, these guys, they've been battling all race long, like you said. They've got a few other guys here in the party now. Yama getting nice and close to what would appear to be some sort of disconnected brain stew. And Blotel, he's 2 seconds down right now, but you can see him catching massively. But here goes Microlander, Neon down into turn 1. Neon's going to have a look at the inside of Trin. He's too far back, realizes it, pulls back in. Microlander not finding a way past either as a result. Jones not too far behind this either. Brainstew, again, connection issues plaguing him here in the final of this race. We've got a huge strain going down towards turn 4. Neon has a look up the inside, doesn't want to cause a spin there. We've seen it a couple of times, but it might have cost him a little bit of time to the car behind. The Microlander behind him, and Brainstew, his teammate, he's got passed by Blotel for P7. And the Mercedes a little deep, a little lock up, but no positions gained there, Striff.
Yeah, it's a very tight race here. A lot of, attempts to break slipstream, trying to shake him. You can see it again here. To the left, to the right. Back to the inside now, trying to position that car with a gradual push off to the outside line. Really trying to position that car to keep the doors shut. Microlander has the view from an extra car back, and he's getting a very good view of all of this. Brains 2 now finally getting back into the session. You love to see it. Neon coming out of turn 13. He has Microlander, as you guys said, his best friend for this race, just sitting on his rear.
Neon much later on the brakes than Microlander, but I think Microlander is using that golden rule. Slow in, fast out, and fast out he is. Pulling off to the left-hand side is the British driver in that Alfa Romeo, and he is now side by side with Neon. Neon has the inside line there still, wheel to wheel, making their way into turn 1. Trin has to leave in the room on the apex. Neon cuts off the Microlander at turn 2, but he still have that overtake in DRS mode. Engaged. Trin doing the snake once again, trying to break this slipstream. Microlander breaks a little bit late, has to get off into the run-up area slightly to try and avoid hitting the back of that McLaren. But he is so close to the back of this McLaren Unicorn. Neon giving him the squeeze, and that's cost him a time penalty now.
Yeah, time penalties are going to be a problem at the end of this race. Maybe not for these guys, as everyone here has got them, but Neon looking for it around the outside of 10. He really doesn't want to give this up. And him and Microlander, I'm sure, if they're already in a VC, they're going to be talking to each other after this. But Jones, he was a little bit far off now. He's really joined the party. He gets one. Can he get two? Down into turn 11. There's a little bit of contact between them. Neon loses out to Microlander, who's going to go back at the racing point around the outside of 12. The racing point does not want to touch that inside curb because it sends you flying. Manages to keep it side by side. They're still going coming out of turn 13. And the Alfa Romeo looks for it. He's had a brilliant run on Neon last time coming out of 14 and 15. He's going to go for it into the entrance this time, much later on the brakes. And, well, it looks like he's got 13 for the time being, but the run down into turn 1, we've seen it 49 times now this race. And, well, here goes Neon. He looks like he's got a lovely run of speed, but he's got no ERS left in the turn. They're going to go 3 wide down into turn 1. The racing point on the inside, the McLaren around the outside of the both. I think Neon's picked them both off here. Jones manages to keep Microlander behind him for the time being, but Neon not able to be stopped by either drivers as they go down to turn 4 now. Jones on the inside, DRS on the McLaren, looks for it. There's a little bit of contact. Can Microlander find it at the inside of the boat? There's a spin, and Jones manages to catch it impressively, but Microlander finds his way past the racing point, and Neon clings on to 13.
Oh, that is very unfortunate there, Jones. You can see in the rear of Microlander struggling after that, and what battling that was there. A lot of very, very intense fighting. You'd love to see the intense fighting. I don't believe anybody had any major damage. I think Neon already holding on to a little bit of damage on the front right here as they're still racing down into turn 11. Neon now just dropping off the rear ever so slightly as Microlander slips through on the inside of 11 now into 13th position. And this, well, we've seen these guys fight all night long.
Neon around the outside of 13 now, but Microlander is coming back at him. This is the most intense battling I've seen for 13th in many a race. Can't say years, I haven't been around here that long. But it's certainly been one of the most intense fights I've seen for a non-points paying position. And Microlander, unfortunately, is going to end that because he's into the pits to maybe change a front wing. I don't know, there's only 8 laps left in this race. Chenjay, our race leader, currently 7 seconds ahead of Domi as the Renault driver making his way into the 3rd sector as we speak.
I want to take our attention to Freeware in Milan, as Freeware is within DRS range. Milan, 17 laps now on these soft compound tires. Is he at risk of puncture on these tires?
Oh, absolutely.
Because this is massive, the stint that he's pulling on these tires, and the fact that we have still a significant amount of racing to the end here really does make me think that, well, that switch has not paid off. Meanwhile, you look at a driver like Ben the Bear, who has had multiple setbacks in this race. He has been showing some stellar pace in getting himself back into a good position here for potential, you know, down the line here. He does not have that much. Well, never mind. He's got 15 seconds. He's carry on. I didn't realize that he had ramped that up, if I'm honest.
Yeah, Jones and Neon will certainly carry on stripping him as Jones made a pass on the Dutchman into turn 11 for 13th place. Must be lucky 13 or something at this rate, because everyone seems to be fighting tooth and nail for it. Down into the final braking zone we go as these two start lap 51 of 57. 6 laps left to go. It looks like Neon into the pits as well. So fastest lap battle between the two best friends? I don't know.
I think Neon might just want to go back down and visit Microland. He wants to keep it going. Wants to keep that fight very much alive. And for Freeware, he's just about to engage in combat with Milan. But I don't think it's going to last too long between the two, because either Freeware's just going to hang back here and wait for Milan's tyres to force him wide, or Milan, he's just going to get made quick work of by Freeware, the German driver, just right on the rear of him here. And I think the tyres and the difference between them, they're the same age pretty much, but one's softs and one's a medium set. Milan, Chef, you brought attention to the puncture. If he's not in puncture danger right now, if he isn't by the end of this race, I'll be very surprised. 5 laps left, 18 laps on those tyres right now. It'll be 23 when we get to the end of this. It might even be 24 actually as they cross onto 52 themselves, but
Well,
it's a tall order for him.
this has been a major week for punctures, we can say for certain. If anyone had an opportunity to catch any of the racing for Tier 1 MRL this week, you can find it on the YouTube channel, !YouTube, and of course jump in that Discord while you're at it. We have a ton of crazy racing going on weekly, as we normally hold the MRL races. We're coming into a break week, but yeah, Tier 1 this past week for France was, I think I can safely say, the best race I've ever commentated. It's up there.
Certainly.
It's up there.
Certainly a brilliant one to commentate and to rewatch. As a yellow flag, as a very slow moving Alfa Romeo, as Michael Landa got a
He's waiting for Neon.
He's waiting for Neon.
Yeah, it looks like these guys, they're taking the end stint here to have a little bit of fun. Not sure if BTFU is involved or whether he'll just want to blow by them or just try to catch up.
Jason coming across in chat saying that Milan, his tyre is 60% rear left. So he should be good to the end of this race.
Well,
He's
good
slow,
as a
but no
relative.
puncture.
Good is a matter of speaking. Given, I think, well, you have Freeware here.
He's going for it now, Striff.
Yeah,
He's going for it. DRS looks to that right-hand side. Lap 53 of 57. Only a handful of laps left to go in this one, ladies and gentlemen. And the German, Freeware, after the struggles that he had on that opening lap, is back up into the podium places. And it looks like Ben the Bear making his way past Brain Stew as well for 8th place on the track.
Yeah, keyword there, on the track. As I was recently surprised to find, sitting with a significant amount of penalty, Bloodtail up the inside of Yama through into turn 4. This is a battle for position now, as Bloodtail is going to really push to keep this 6th position now. Yama, Ben the Bear, everything is, well, Ben the Bear really catching these guys quickly, and the battling is not going to help their situation.
And neither is that Tie Life Unicorn. I mean, the difference between these guys, while there's only a few laps left in this race, it is quite pronounced. So we could see Ben, unfortunately with the penalties, I don't think he'll be finishing in the points, but he could at least give us some really good battles, just like one we're seeing for 15th now between Neon and Michael. And looks like BTFU is getting in on that action as well in 17th.
Yeah, and these last lap battles, especially Milan now dropping off a freeway. He's not in one. Michael and Neon, these guys all on fresh tyres. They won't have any tyre wear concerns at the end of this. Neon going side by side. We haven't seen, these guys go side by side through 5, 6, or 7 in about 5 laps, and that's quite a long hiatus for these guys. But we've got BTFU. He has joined this action, and he's had a little bit of a tap on the side of Michael, and I guess his car's resettled, and they keep going out of turn 8. But yeah, they've had a little bit of a break. They're now much well and truly underway for the last 4 laps. So this one, Ben the Bear, he's got a lot of penalties to his name, so his finishing position will be a few places down compared to where he is now, that's for sure. But at the moment, he's looking at the back of Yama, and he wants to overtake the Williams and Blotel in the Mercedes. There's another yellow flag. It's his teammate Richie. He's had a problem coming out of turn 3. He's in the wall in the other Red Bull.
Trin making his way through turn 3 now, getting past the limping bull. With only a few laps remaining, these guys have made it 53 laps thus far, soon to be 54. Yama having a great scrap there with Ben the Bear, Brain Stew as well, only a few tenths behind them. While these guys have been going on for the best part of an hour and 15 minutes, just about, it is certainly far from over, Scriff.
Definitely far from over here, Mick. Yama, Blottel, everybody wants this position. Penalties are really going to play a role given how tight this grid is. Microlander, Neon, they're doing the dance still, but we're focused now on the mid-fight. Here goes Ben looking up the inside of Yama. As we come in through the final 2 turns, he's going to get this move done neatly on the inside. Of course, the tire differential, Yama with a good exit, utilizing a lot of that battery. He is going to have the rear wing wide open.
Look at Brainstew, Strip. Look at Brainstew. He's got the slipstream. He's got the DRS as well. He's going to get both of them into turn number 1. Oh my goodness, Ben a little bit later on the brakes. Looks like he's only able to get 1, and that's the Williams of Yama. But Ben holds on for another lap, and as Chenje only has 2.5 laps left in this race before he presumably will take the victory here in Bahrain. These guys are running out of time very quickly.
Yeah, the gap and the opportunity to get where they want to get on this timing tower is now running down to the wire. We're on lap 55 of this race, about to be lap 56, the penultimate lap of this campaign. And well, there's been so much overtaking, so much intensity, a little bit of drama. But I can say one thing, Shenje, 8.2 seconds ahead of Domi, is looking quite comfortable to take a victory here in Bahrain. No penalties on the Renault driver either.
Looks like Richie might have just joined this battle for what I've called the wooden spoon before. And these guys are certainly having a massive tangle. Looks like Remco has had a spin at turn 8 as well. Luckily, he's got a 21-second gap behind him to Richie. But these back four are absolutely crazy at the moment. If they keep fighting like this, they might actually end up being lapped. Maybe.
Here goes Ben. Blottel. A little exchange between the two here as Ben gets ahead now of the Mercedes. Brain Stew. Not too far behind, but not close enough to make anything happen. Ben into 6th.
Yeah, Ben, just too little too late. I think that safety car really ended his race almost, at least for the win. He's going to be pretty far off that podium now with those 15 seconds of penalties that he's accumulated through this one. And, well, I'm sure he'll be pretty disappointed with that result, as it looks like we've got a yellow flag. It is Remco again, by the looks of it. Really pretty much stopped. I think he might just be waiting to join the fun at the back of this grid as well. And his teammate for this one, Shenje, well, he's looking to cross onto the final lap of the race and is not too far behind them as they all pile down into turn 1. And Remco picks off Microlander, or at least gets back past him, I should say, as they just exchanged at the 15th turn. With the Renault now ahead down into turn 4, and Microlander not finding a way back past into the corner, but out of it. What an exit from the Alfa Romeo. And they're side by side going down into 5. Microlander not getting out as early as we saw it. There's a yellow flag ahead. It's the Red Bull of Richie facing the track, not on it. Meanwhile, the Alfa Romeo, the red Renault, they're still side by side. And Microlander, well, he was out on top, but Remco later on the brakes down into 10, looking to hold it around the outside of the Alfa Romeo, and he does. What a move.
Yeah, here comes Richie now back at the both of them. Remco now with Richie on the inside as we come through turn 11. Gets the move done.
Yeah, Microlander as well around the outside of Remco into 12 and 13. And these guys have been going tooth and nail at it. But I want to bring everyone's attention to Chenje as he makes his way into the final braking zone of this race. 57 laps here at Bahrain. It wasn't looking good for the start, but using the safety cars to his full effect, it is Chenje who will take the race win here in Bahrain to start off the MRL Endurance Series for 2021. Domi in that Ferrari will come across the line in P2. And just having a quick look at the penalties as well. It looks like it's going to be quite close between Freeware and Milan for this final podium place. Has Milan done enough? He has. And it's Zamis, actually.
Yeah,
On the
Zamis, no
podium.
penalties. It's a 2-3 for the Scuderia here in Bahrain, and, well, that's Bahrain, ladies and gentlemen.
What a drive from so many of these drivers. Milan, he may not have got himself on that podium, but 25 laps on those softs. And, well, after this one, Ben's going to be looking back at this and wondering why he didn't do the same. But
I think drivers are still actually going at it.
Yeah.
Oh, BTFU's cut it. He's cut turn 13 on the final lap. He's using that ERS to full effect now, using absolutely everything left in that tank. He will look up the inside line into the final braking zone of the race. Neon looking for the switchback. We might have a drag race between these two. Neon will have the DRS. It's going to be close to the line, but on penalties, it will be BTFU taking that position. But Richie and Microlander will be dropping those guys, and Remco will be the last driver to cross the line. And he's doing a little bit of a drift there through the final corner. But wow, my oh my, what a race that we have witnessed here this evening, ladies and gentlemen.
That was a ton of fun. Ton of fun to watch, ton of fun to broadcast, everybody. Wow. Driver of the day going to Zamis, which is awarded to the driver getting so many positions.
I can't argue with that one.
Wow.
Can any of you?
Nope. No.
Yeah, very good drive from him.
Yeah, I think there were some reports of potential desync from him, which I don't know if that's the case, but that is something that can happen in these races, and it's very unfortunate when it does happen. But Shenjie with the win for round 1 of the Endurance Series. It's 2-3 for the Ferraris behind the Renault, and, well, that's a big old thanks from Renault if I've ever seen one, Unicorn.
That was just brilliant from start to finish. Look at the grid starting positions to where these drivers finished it. That just goes to show that it's just not one lap pace in an endurance race. You have to keep yourself level-headed throughout, manage everything, tires, fuel, just lap to lap battling. And, well, we saw Ben. The qualifying time he posted was absolutely incredible. We saw him and Milan running away with it at the first half. We thought Shenjie, he was dropping off a bit, but a well-timed safety car for Shenjie really led him to just walk away with it in the second half of that. And, well, he really just nailed, just continuously pumping in good lap after good lap, and no penalties for the American either. We were saying it at the start that penalties could really play a factor in this, particularly as we switched it to strict corner cutting for this season of the endurance. And when it did take its hold on the race, it's changed the finishing order quite justly. It put Zamis on the podium from 14th on the grid. What a drive from him. Domi 7th to 2nd, the other Ferrari. A good result for them. But overall, a ton of fun, and what a brilliant race to kick off what will be, I'm sure, a very exciting season of Formula One and 100% races, both here at MRL and in real life as well.
Now, I'm not entirely sure if we are going to be doing any interviews for this race, Mikau. I don't see anybody prepared for it, so I think we might just prepare to do that next week. But it was a fantastic first round, of course, and, oh, actually, might get the winner. At least. Give us one moment here. We'd like to get some interviews, I think. Yeah, okay. We will have interviews for the podium finishers. Just give us a moment to get those dialed in, and then of course we'll rate a member of the community.
I'm still speechless at that race. What a way to start off the season. What a way to really just showcase what MRL has to offer. There was so much battling, so much intense racing all the way across the grid, and it looks like maybe Ace Richie might have a few words to say with Neon about ditching him as his best friend after that one. Because, man, oh man, the battles between Neon and Microlander, even though they weren't for points, I don't know if they were, I mean, I certainly hope they weren't staged, but they were absolutely incredible. I think there were more laps that they went side by side through turns 5, 6, and 7 than they were not. Like they went side by side through that section, which typically has only one line, but in that section of circuit, and they have really put on a show for us. All these drivers have.
Yeah, you look at a 100% race and you think, how can we possibly get action for, was it 57 laps, I think? But, well, this grid just proved that it's very much possible. And like you said, we saw a lot of action through corners that you don't usually see action through, 5, 6, and 7 in particular. It's such a tricky circuit section of track to navigate side by side. And you see drivers doing it lap after lap. That shows a lot of confidence and a lot of confidence not only in yourself but also in the driver alongside you. And I do think we do have interviews, and I think Zamus has joined us here for the first one, third place.
That's right. Yeah, Zamus, congratulations on the third place finish after a very, very long campaign around Bahrain. How you feeling?
Sweaty.
Well, it was a very, very good drive from you. No penalties, a very long, dynamic race. We had that safety car. I mean, sweaty aside, how was that race for you coming from where you did on this grid?
I mean, my qualifying was horrible, so we went with a hard strat and hard soft strat. We got that beneficial safety car. It did help me out. And we were just talking, like, there was a lot of battling. There was a lot of wheel to wheel. There was a lot of battling, a lot of watching deltas, a lot of managing tires. And just there at the end, I just kept talking, like, I just need to stay within so close to this guy. And this guy's tires are surely going to go off. And by the time his race was over, my hands were shaking. I had so much adrenaline going. But it worked out, and it was a blast. I had so much fun.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it was quite the race out there. Just give us your thoughts on this endurance series. 57 laps. Surely there was some fatigue at some point during that race. Just how is it for a driver to know that you normally have these 50% races, normally about 45 minutes. When you hit the halfway point in this race, you're normally done, but you feel like you have to do it all over again, go for another, what would be 26 laps in this one. Just give us your thoughts on that, and how, as a driver, your mentality needs to shift, if at all, when doing one of these very, very long races.
Honestly, like being on a wheel, it makes it more difficult because, if you're on a pad, you can kind of shuffle around and kind of move a bit. When you're on the wheel, like you're in that position, you're stuck in that position. And so you don't necessarily start getting fatigue in my arms or hands or anything, but I definitely start getting some fatigue in my legs just from being in a sitting position. So it's definitely difficult. I just try not to think about it. Like if I constantly think about, hey, a toe's going numb, and then I'm not going to be thinking about my driving. So, it's the endurance series it's a lot of fun. I mean, they're long and it's different than anything we do here, besides our league stuff. So it's fun putting grids together like this and just letting guys see who can keep consistent for an entire race. And it's one of my favorite series that we do.
Well, once again, Zamus, congratulations on your third place finish, and all the best in your future races. We hope to see you again here in the interview rooms very, very soon.
Yeah, guys, thanks. Hope you had fun too.
Rats.
I do believe we are now joined by our race winner, Chenjay. I'll hand it over to both Striff and Unicorn, but Chenjay, just firstly from me, well done, congratulations on the race victory. Now, Striff, Unicorn, take it away.
Well, Shenjay, that was a very, very long race. You're no stranger to these endurance series races. How did it feel, first and foremost, being back?
Yeah, well, kind of dead inside. It's really tired because last time we did this was 4 months ago, so it's been a while. Definitely 2 hours straight of sitting in a single position, not very comfortable. But yeah, I think it wasn't that bad. Like, I wasn't gonna die or anything.
What was your expectations coming into the race, knowing we had drivers like Ben on the grid, Milan today showing fantastic pace, the qualifying was tight? What was it like going into the race and then coming out with the win after such a long and, to be honest, dynamic race?
Well, I thought I was gonna get P2 behind Ben, but Milan kind of helped me. He was pressuring and annoying Ben the whole first stint of the race. So I was just sitting back, conserving fuel because the max fuel you can put in the car is 1.5 laps, which is not even enough for a 50% race usually. So I just was sitting back conserving ERS and fuel. I had the great engineer Valu updating me on Milan's zero ERS, so I knew that at the end of the race, I could have better pace with more fuel and more ERS. So um, after like Ben got his penalties and Milan also got his penalty, and I knew about Milan having basically no ERS. I knew that I could win from there, and the safety car just basically made it a lot easier.
Unicorn, do you have any questions for our race winner?
Well, I was just gonna touch on, you saying there you're conserving fuel ERS, but there was a point in that race where you just were slowly just dropping off the back of the front two without that safety car. Do you think it would have been a struggle to catch back up, or do you think that in the later stage of that race that the conservation of the fuel, the ERS, would have brought you back into things regardless of what happened in terms of safety cars?
I think definitely I could have won on penalties because I got one warning the whole race, and it was just a pretty dumb extent. So I knew that I could keep it penalty free. So Ben had 6, Mal had 3. I knew that with my more fuel ERS I could get within that gap. I didn't know if I could win on track, but yeah, like I was using lean at the end of um every straight, using it in the corners. Like whenever I got to 7th, 8th gear, I put it down in lean. So yeah, I was confident that I could at least win it on penalties.
Yeah, and finally, obviously, it's not the same grid every week, but you mentioned at the start that sitting in this position for 100% races, it's not exactly the most comfortable, but you do get used to it. We've had a pretty long break since the last one. Do you think that the drivers, as we do more and more 100% races, that these grids, despite the fact that they're not the same, will get more competitive over the course of the season as people get more and more used to going for these 100% distances?
Yeah, I think so. The first like 100% race you do in like 4 months is always not very hard, not very easy. I mean,
Yeah, well, again, a huge congratulations. Thank you after all of that for taking the time to interview here. And well, good luck in tier one. And if we see you here again in endurance, but a brilliant race for you today.
thank you.
Well, that wraps up round 1 of the Bahrain Grand Prix. And of course, that's for us. That being said, it is a very, very busy weekend. Formula One action tomorrow, but not only Formula One Bahrain. Tomorrow, we will be back, the MRL, with the APAC division, as well as the Formula 2 racing to conclude our racing around France before a Easter break. And then we'll be heading to Austria in a short time. Massive, massive, massive shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. You can see their fantastic logo on screen, as well as their website, nextlevelracing.com. You can check them out via the link in the chat and the panels down below for some awesome sim racing rigs, motion sims, gear of the likes for all sim racers. They're really, really helping out the sim racing community. So big shout out to them. And I will leave it now to Mick, Unicorn, you guys, Mikal, any closing comments for the stream before we head off and raid Mr. Alex Budd this evening?
Just what a race. I'll say it again. It was absolutely incredible just to watch all of that intense racing out there on the track today. Hopefully, the Formula One drivers can give us a similar kind of spectacle. And looking at the grid and the qualifying times from that qualifying, it should be a very interesting race and a very entertaining race tomorrow. But of course, do be sure to check out our partners Next Level Racing in the panels below and the link in the chat. And also be sure to tune in for APAC, please. I might be a bit biased, but certainly if it's anything to go off the races so far this week around Paul Ricard, it's certainly shaping up to be a real cracker of a race. So definitely look forward to that one early tomorrow if you need to satisfy your Formula One hunger before the Bahrain Grand Prix. That's about all from me. Unicorn, I'll hand it off to you. Any closing remarks before we head off and raid Mr. Alex Budd?
Well, I think you both wrapped it up pretty well. That was just an incredible way to kick off endurance for this season. It was just pretty much the perfect thing. We couldn't have asked for much more. Safety car drama just really messing up the strategy for the 2 lead drivers. That isn't something you usually see in a 100% race. Well, that's going to cost you big time. But what a race. Thank you to everyone as well for tuning in. We had, a lot of spot. The chat was really lively tonight, and it's always brilliant to see the community not only taking part in the races, but also watching along with us. It's been super fun to commentate with 2 people rather than just one of us, or 2 of us, 3 of us rather than 2 of us, I should say. But yeah, what a race. What a way to kick it off. And like you said, APAC, real F1, F2. Tomorrow's going to be a busy and hopefully equally as fun day.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you guys in the next one, and tomorrow for APAC.